yum, yum.
Good morning, Sac City. Welcome in to another edition of the Sac City Podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by my best friend in the whole entire world. He is Aaron, the Mukesiah Mukes. It is a beautiful Monday morning, October 24th, here in the city. Episode 105 is about to kick off, and we have almost put a close to the book of Week 7 football. We have some Monday night football coming up today between the New England Patriots and the Chicago Bears. We had a lot of action from yesterday's contests, some upsets, some big wins, some big time losses. We're going to dive into that and so much more on today's show. We've also got game by game recaps coming up as well in a little bit. We do not leave out any teams. There is no page left unturned here in the city. Your team gets the coverage that you deserve. Aaron, how was your Sunday?
It was good. I got a day off. Didn't end the way I wanted it to end. I was actually hoping to get some sleep last night. I did not. However, being able to sit down and watch all the games and eat a lot of food, and it was good. And plus, there was some interesting topics going on in the NFL yesterday. So I'm excited to talk about those. And it was a good day, though. It was a good day.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you were able to enjoy that the day off. You said you had the weekend off, so that's good to have the.
I ended up working Saturday.
Yeah, you just can't stay away. You just can't stay away from the grind. You just can't stay away. It's just in our blood. Well, we've got a great show coming up. We've got recaps. We've got morning headlines. We've got injury report. Let's get down to business.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Let's kick things off with a little disappointment here today with our morning headlines. Two teams really headlined the Week 7 slate in terms of results. It's the Green Bay Packers falling to the Washington Commanders 23-21, and the Buccaneers having another disappointing loss after losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 6. They go to Carolina and lose 21-3 here in Week 7. Aaron, this is where I have to start here because these two teams we talked about last week, and even in the throughout the season, we were like, okay, these two teams, these are playoff teams. They're like the regular season for these teams do not matter. Last week you said it didn't matter for it matters for the Packers. We're a little concerned about them. The Bucs still get that break because Tom Brady's still the quarterback. 21-3 might change that narrative.
Yeah, it does a little bit. Talk about the Packers first. I think we just got to get to the point where it's Week 7 and we just finished watching Week 7 and they just are who they are. They're not good. They're not a good football team. And, it's hard for people to get off of their stance on a team where they're bullish, especially me, because I'm very bullish on what I believe and I usually stick by what I say until evidence changes. And, evidence to me is something that's long-standing, that's sustained, that we can point to and say, okay, it's week after week after week. They're still not living up to the hype that we expected. And I think that's where we're at with the point with the Green Bay Packers. It's the offense is just not good in more ways than one. It's not just one aspect of the offense. It's the entire offense. It's just not living up to what it needs to win football games. And their defense put up a touchdown in that game. They almost put up another one. That was the real reason why they were even in that football game for the most part of it. The offense was just atrocious. And for the first time in a long time, Aaron Rodgers looks like he has some little chinks in his armor. I saw him miss throws. I saw him miss wide open guys. I saw him read the defense poorly, go to the wrong guy when he should have been, going somewhere else. And that's concerning because when your quarterback, that's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, starts to decline in play, or you see a decline in his play, at least for this season so far, there's not much really else you can hang your hat on and point to. So serious concerns about the Green Bay Packers there. As for the Bucs, I think those same concerns exist. I just think they're less because they play in a division where it is Carolina, it is New Orleans, it is Atlanta. So when you have teams like those three teams, I think you can afford. I still have no doubts that Tampa Bay wins that division, because I watched Atlanta just get blown out again after we talked about how close they've been playing games. They get blown out by Cincinnati. The New Orleans Saints turn the ball over, can't beat Arizona. And then the Carolina Panthers, who beat Tampa, we all know it's kind of a fire sale over there. We don't expect them to continue to win. So I think by default, Tampa has still an easier path to get to the playoffs. But you have to start having some concern about how they're doing it, or how they're going to get there if they're going to continue to play football the way they have been. You're on mute.
Yeah. With the Bucks, it's one of those things that, like, I guess you say, the Bucks have the easiest route still to the playoffs because of that division. No matter how much credit we give to the Falcons, and hey, credit to the Panthers for getting the job done and finding a way to win here, and even the Saints in that division as well. The path is a little bit easier for the Bucks, and we know once the playoffs come, Tom Brady's just a different human, and that's just how it is with Brady. And maybe, I guess, it's one of those things we talk about. It's the show me state. You have to show me that you're a good team. You have to show me this and that. Well, Tom Brady has to show us that he's not good in the playoffs to be all out on.
I will say, like, I don't have Tampa Bay winning any games in the playoffs right now. It goes beyond Tom Brady. They're not a good team. Like, they're just not playing good football. So although I do think they get there, I wouldn't have them beating Philly. I wouldn't have them beating Dallas. I wouldn't have them beating New York at this point. I wouldn't have them beating Minnesota. I wouldn't have them beating the Rams. I wouldn't have them be like, there are just teams, the 49ers, they're not beating any of those teams in the playoffs. They might get there because they're in a bad division, but they're not going to win a playoff game. Not the way they're playing right now. You just hold out hope that they can get it right, because I don't know that this is a Tom Brady issue. I think this is a bigger than Tom Brady. The team is just not as talented. It's not as good as we thought. When you suffer injuries and you're not a deep team, when we talked about Tampa Bay not really being deep, like, they had the starters were great, 22 starters, but anybody starts getting hurt, you start to really see the flaws in that team. And I think that's where we're at now.
Yeah. We're gonna dive more into that game in just a few moments, as well as the Packers game. We'll bring on our intern Tyler to help us break down that game in a new segment that I kind of came up with last night. I'll make a graphic for it eventually, and we'll have a new segment when he comes on. But in other news, the Seattle Seahawks defeated the Los Angeles Chargers yesterday, 37-23, to take the lead in the NFC West. They have now won 3 of their last 4 games and lead in NFC West with the Cardinals, with the Rams, and the 49ers, all playoff teams last year. And it's the Seahawks leading the way. Just some brief takeaways from you in not only the Seahawks win, but the fact that they're leading the NFC West right now.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in the NFC West. I'm the second best team in the NFC West. They're a good football team, and it's crazy to say, but they play football the right way, and they're a very, very good football team, and they're not going to be an easy win for anybody. How much can they actually get done? I don't know. Maybe they can sneak into the playoffs as a wild card, but I do think they're going to find their struggles. We'll see what's going on with DK and how that works out. But Seattle, just the defense is starting to catch up. They're starting outside of the 49ers. I don't know that I would take any other team in the NFC West right now.
Yeah. I think the Seattle Seahawks are just finding ways to win. I think I talk about it all the time, just not out coaching what you have on the field, not playing above your means, and that's what the Seattle Seahawks are doing. They know what they have an identity, that's we talk about that as a big thing for certain teams. You just don't have an identity, and I mean, it could be said with the Bucks and the Packers, who we were just talking about. Seattle Seahawks, in their hand, they lead the NFC West, and you know their identity. They're going to feed Ken Walker, and they're going to let Geno Smith make plays when he has to make plays and not force him to do anything that he can't do. Another efficient day from Geno, 20 of 27, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have an interception, but got Marquise Goodwin involved. I mean, this is a team that's just finding ways to make it happen, not only on the ground, but through the air as well. I'm very excited to talk about that game in a little bit, because the Chargers are on the other side of that, and there's definitely going to be some hits coming when we discuss that game. One last bit of news, and this is just for you. I wanted to just put this in just for you as a headline. Josh Jacobs, the dog himself, absolutely having a day. 3 touchdowns for Josh Jacobs in this game, 20 carries, 143 yards to go with that. The third straight game with 100-plus rushing yards and a touchdown for him. This man is on another level at the running back position. Aaron, I'll let you take your victory lap here in our morning headlines.
Yeah, I mean, I went on a little rant before the game. And I told everybody this dog right here was going to eat. We knew it was a bad matchup for Houston. So don't get me wrong. I'm not here to gloat too much today because I expected this against the Houston Texans. But I will say it reassures everything that I said, that this offense has to run through Josh Jacobs. He is going to be the engine, despite having a Davante Adams. He has to be the engine if the Raiders want to win. It sets up everything for Davante Adams and Derek Carr in this offense. And Josh Jacobs, man, earning himself a contract in a contract year. I don't understand where the hate came from, so I'm not really sure why this even started. I'm not sure where the Josh Jacobs slander came from this year. I know it was really heavy in fantasy football, which is, people are eating their words now for that. But also in regular football, like, I don't understand why people just didn't realize how good this guy was. And I'm going to get into a point later, which his name will come up again, that I want to talk about. But for the most part, man, this guy's just been – you watch the way he runs, and he's running on a mission. He's running like he's got something to prove. And maybe it's the contract year. Maybe it's he's trying to get paid. But, hey, running backs got to do it. They got to cash in while they can, because their career doesn't last very long, as you can see with most backs in the league. So shout out Josh Jacobs for continuing to be that dog that he is.
Yeah, it's been huge, and I'm really glad he brought up the point of – we talked about it in the preseason, this team, the way they were winning those preseason games, they were running the ball, and they played a lot of their starters in the preseason. Josh McDaniels was taking that very seriously, and we're far away from that. But, I mean, it was the precursor of what we wanted to see from them. And they started the season struggling, and we said it was because they were not running the ball like we thought they would, and we said that was their key to success, and now it's paying dividends right now. Another huge game from Josh Jacobs to cap our morning headlines is the only way we can cap it today in our Week 7 recaps. Let's go into our injury report and get some sadness on the show.
This fool said some sadness. It was
a tough day. It was a tough day, man.
Our injury report. We all know how tough it is to talk about injuries. I'm going to run down some notable ones from Sunday. Obviously, there's a ton more, but these are just ones that off the top of my head, to be honest. Try to go in order here. AJ Terrell of the Atlanta Falcons, big time loss for that defense. Suffered a hamstring injury. He left, did not return. He's going to go undergo more testing. Obviously, with the trade of Christian McCaffrey in the NFC South, Chuba Hubbard drew the start, was running well. D'Onta Foreman came in, ran well against that Tampa Bay defense, but Chuba Hubbard injured his ankle. They did say after the game that he could have returned to the game, that it was just more precautionary because they had the game in hand. Trey Hendrickson, I thought this was a big loss, stinger for the Cincinnati Bengals. We don't know how long he's going to be ruled out, but he left, did not return. Again, that neck injury there. David Njoku for the Browns was on pace. He was having a really good day, as AJ had said, and then he got hurt, rolled his ankle, still went like 7 for 74 or something like that. But he seems to be their number 2 option there in Cleveland right now. He hurt his ankle and he's out. And then also backup Pharaoh Brown got hurt for concussion. So they're a little bit thin at tight end. Mike Boone for the Denver Broncos yesterday, messed up his ankle, didn't return against the Jets in that loss to the Jets. And so this morning, we didn't talk about this in morning headlines, but they signed Marlon Mack off the 49ers practice squad, and he's actually flying to Denver, and he should be joining them this week. Cowboys, Dalton Schultz was banged up, but he came back. Matt Farniak had a hamstring injury that could hurt them on the depth on the offensive line. Amon-Ra St. Brown left at the very beginning of the game, suffered a concussion in that game. Obviously, Detroit still dealing with those injuries to their 2 best players in DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tough for them. Doesn't get any better for the Packers. Rashawn Gary, concussion, and Alan Lazard hurt his shoulder and did not return. And he seems to be the most trusted source of weaponry that Aaron Rodgers has. And he left and did not return. So big there. Everybody saw this one, the J.C. Jackson injury. That was tough to watch. It looks like he suffered a dislocated kneecap. I don't even know how that happens just by running, but that just hurt my knee right now. And then in that same game later, Mike Williams messed up his ankle pretty severely. So 2 big-time losses for the Chargers, and we will get into that game later. I'm sure this is just more excuses on the way for the Chargers. Giants lost Evan Neal. I thought that was a big-time loss for them on the right side of that offensive line. And Adoree Jackson suffered a concussion. Another major injury in New York, this time coming from the Jets. A couple of big losses here. Breece Hall looks like an ACL injury, going to probably done for the year. Tough to see because he was running so well. Corey Davis, Elijah Vera Tucker also left that game. Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers. Big time DK Metcalf hurt his leg. He's been out. And it's been a lot of injuries. And the last one I'll mention here is Ryan Tannehill, who was in a walking boot after the game. Malik Willis came in, he went back out. Ryan Tannehill came back in, but now he's in a walking boot and doesn't feel great, he says, the ankle. So we'll see if he's able to play in week 8. If he's not, it looks like it'll be the Malik Willis show.
You timed that up so perfectly. There's like an ending to the Feeding the Duck song on StreamYard. There's an actual ending and then it loops. And then you that was timed up perfectly. It was what a beautiful, beautiful injury report. Not so beautiful for the actual injuries themselves that occurred, especially that Breece Hall one. That's tough, man. That sucks to see him having a great season and then leave the game. I mean, he still had a hell of a game too before he left. Like her first half, he had like almost 100 yards in just the first half alone. A big difference maker for the New York Jets. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. But let's go inside the Sunday slate here and talk about some of the takeaways from Week 7's action here. We talked a little bit about the Bucks and the Packers losing and suffering those tough losses. What are some of your other takeaways from Sunday's games?
I think teams are starting to show who they are. My biggest takeaway is Denver's not good. The Jets are a good football team. Seattle Seahawks are a good football team. The New York Giants are a good football team. Doesn't mean they're Super Bowl contenders. Doesn't mean we have to overreact to what they're doing, but they are what they are. We have got to now. I think this is a good time at week 7 to say, okay, our idea of what these teams should have looked like in week 1 no longer matter. Doesn't matter that we thought Green Bay should have been a Super Bowl contender. Doesn't matter if we thought Tampa Bay or the Rams or whoever. Like, it's a new year. 7 weeks have passed, and proof is now there that these teams are either not as good as they were as we thought, or that the teams that are playing well are good. And I think we just have to wrap our head around that. And sometimes it's a hard thing to do. But I think it's here. I think my biggest takeaway is that these teams that are winning, the Jets, the Giants that we did not expect, they are good football teams. And I don't see the point of the season now where they're going to go through this stretch where we're like, oh, there's that team that's really bad. After 3 or 4 weeks, I think you can do that. After week 7, 6-1, the Giants are. I don't care. It's like the cardiac Giants are doing it at the end of games. They're hanging on by a yard if Christian Kirk goes 1 yard deeper or whatever. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they're barely winning these games. They are what they are.
Good teams find ways to win. And it's not to say the Giants are like a world beater team, like on the top level of like Chiefs, Bills level, but good teams find ways to win. And it's hard to argue that the Giants are one of the best teams in the NFC, record-wise and in terms of finding ways to win. And I like the fact that you went that route of we're starting to see the true team, like team's true identities really come out. And I mean, you look at like a team like the Tennessee Titans, who started off the season struggling, and then they're a team that's been finding ways to win. Now they're leading the AFC South and not looking like a complete runaway yet, but almost exactly what we thought almost exactly what you thought would happen with Tennessee Titans this season is kind of coming true. Maybe not what I thought of the 6-11 wins. Maybe I need to rethink that one because they're already on track to
they're going to
get that.
They're going to win more.
Yeah, but
the same thing with the Bengals, right? The Bengals have been playing really well and they started slow. But like, I think we knew that. And I think now you can gauge a team. Like after 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes it's hard. Teams go 3-0 and then you can't gauge them. I think after 7, I think you can gauge them.
And even the teams that started off strong, I mean, there was a lot of hype around There was a lot of hype around 3 teams in my head. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe there's others, or maybe there's less. But there was hype around 3 teams that I thought was getting a lot of buzz. The Jaguars after their beatings of the Chargers and Colts. The Lions after scoring their 1,000 points in 3 games or whatever it was, one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL. And then the Browns, Jacoby Brissett finding ways to win with this team. All those teams are kind of we're starting to kind of really see their true colors and that they're not necessarily there yet. The Jaguars being closer than not closer than we thought, but pretty much the Jaguars are where we thought they would be, because sure, they had a great start, but we said at the beginning of the season they'd be competitive, they'd be in games, but they're still not there yet to where they're sealing the deal in wins. The Browns are a team where we look at and say, okay, they just need to hold off until Deshaun Watson comes in, and it's going to be a struggle, and it has been. They were able to find ways to win early on, but at the end of the day, the true colors show in Cleveland. And then the Lions, the same thing. The true colors end up showing. It's a terrible defense. You got no DeAndre Swift. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown hurt. That offense just can't survive without that, and they're not a shutout against New England the last time we saw them in week 6 or in week 5, and then they come out of the bye and only put up 6 points against the Cowboys. So we're really starting to see the true identities of these teams. Let's talk winners and losers. Let's start with the losers because I want to end the show off strong here. Who are your biggest losers of week 7?
I really didn't want to go here, but it's not, I don't want to say it's the Jets. It's the Jets. And I know they won. It's losing Breece Hall. He's so dynamic. I really think that this loss is going to hurt them. And I like Michael Carter a lot. I actually suggested yesterday on the phone with Dylan that you might see the Jets trade for Cam Akers.
Gross.
Because I don't know that they can get where they want to get without a solid running game. I watched that passing game again, and it's just not very good. Zach Wilson's struggling to move the ball through the air, but their defense is so good and their running game is so good, it helps them. They really need to play that style of football. I don't know if they can do that with just Michael Carter. So I thought that was a huge loss for them. And then you add on top of that the Elijah Vera Tucker. So my biggest takeaway, from everything that happened on Sunday, was a team like them who I'm starting to see real positive signs of being able to compete with some of the bigger teams just because of how good that defense can be. And Sauce Gardner is a lockdown corner year 1. Is the fact that they lost their running game. That running back loss is going to be huge for them. And they gotta look at something. They gotta look at getting another weapon. Michael Carter is not going to be able to do it by himself. So I think they have to go out and make a move. If this had happened a week sooner, Christian McCaffrey right now might be on the Jets.
Man.
I truly believe that he might be on the Jets. That's how much I think they believe in that team. But I could see a situation where they go get Cam Akers, where they trade for Cam Akers. And it's not a long-term play, but it's just for more running back depth. Because I'm trying to think of any other running back that might be on the market that they could go get.
James Robinson.
Maybe, but is he really on the market?
No, that's the thing. The only for sure one that we know that has the buzz that's around him is Cam Akers. I say James Robinson, not just from a personal standpoint, but knowing that he is on his last year. Like it makes sense for James Robinson to be available. But you're right. There is no clarity to that. There's no confirmation that he is someone that is on the block. But Cam Akers definitely seems like a good running back, or maybe who knows? They bring Adrian Peterson out of retirement again, and he finds his way back in the NFL like he has the past few years, somehow finding a roster spot. I don't know if I see that much of a big difference between Cam Akers though and Michael Carter, to be completely honest. Maybe I'm off on that. but I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's that big of a difference between those two running backs.
Between who?
Cam Akers and Michael Carter.
It's not about being a difference. It's not about what the difference is. He can't carry the load by himself. So
That's
who else
true.
do you get involved is what I'm saying.
That's
Like
true.
you have to have somebody else, especially with the amount of times they want to run the football. They want to keep it on the ground and play that style of football. You're going to end up killing Michael Carter as well if you just put it all on his shoulders. And right now, the depth at that position for them is not what it used to be. It's not where they want it to be. So
you can say it's not where it used to be. Remember the Jets back in the day, maybe not back in the day like back in the day, but like in the mid 2000s, you go back to those days with Thomas Jones and Sean Green, and then you had a Chris Ivory.
No. I meant used to be like
they had depth.
Again, those guys are okay. I mean, Ty Johnson's their only backup right now. They literally have 2 running backs on their roster. Ty Johnson and Michael Carter. So they're going to have to.
They don't even have anyone on the practice squad. I was trying to look into their practice squad to see if
they're going to have to go and address it.
They have Zonovan Knight. Knight, rookie running back out of North Carolina State. There you go.
They need to go. I'm sorry, I froze. I didn't hear you, but you said Zonovan Knight, and I tuned you out.
That was probably the best. That was probably for the best. NC State running back is also on the practice squad, but we'll see what the Jets do. All right, losers. Now we got some winners. Let's end it strong here, buddy. Week 7 biggest winners.
I'm sticking with the player theme here. Ken Walker, man. This dude. I mean, you called him having a chance to be rookie of the year, and fortunately, Rashad Penny got hurt. I called him coming out of college how good he actually was at Wake Forest, and then when he did at Michigan State. Matter of fact, I ran a story on him at Full Sail. I remember that, and I was just like, this dude's going to be a special running back. He was very real impressive, and against a weak run defense, he did what he was supposed to do. And I always look at stuff like that. You go against a team. It's like the Josh Jacobs argument. You go against a team that you're supposed to dominate on the ground against. I would have been disappointed in Ken Walker if he turns around and it was 15 for 65. I'd have been like, you know what? That's not what he should have did against a weak run defense, and he didn't. He balled out and he did what he was supposed to do. And on top of that, him and Josh Jacobs single-handedly. And you mix them two with the Dallas defense, single-handedly won me a fantasy matchup. And I'm not. That's not being facetious. That's not joking. I had no quarterback in my lineup because Josh Allen was on a bye and I didn't pick anybody off waivers. I got 3 points from a receiver or from Kyle Pitts in my tight end, 3 points from Mason Crosby, 2 zeros with Michael Gallup and one other receiver. And that was it. That was my entire lineup. And then I had Ken Walker, Dallas defense, and Josh Jacobs, and I won. And I have Montgomery tonight, but I don't even need him. That's how good Ken Walker was yesterday. He is my biggest winner for week 7.
That sounds like, and not to continue the fantasy train, but that sounds like my lineup right now. Single-handedly, Josh Jacobs, Ken Walker, and throw in a little Dameon Pierce action, helping me get close to. I have not won yet. I need 6 points from the Patriots defense to get the dub. I need 6 points from them to get the dub, but they've kept me in it, especially after a 10-point day from Lamar Jackson, a goose from Michael Gallup, and 0.4 points from Mark Andrews. So those guys definitely huge, and a big day from Ken Walker. And like you mentioned, I've been on the Ken Walker train, saying that it was gonna happen. And I don't like to predict an injury, but we've talked about it before.
Well, we knew Rashad Penny was going to get hurt.
Exactly. We knew Rashad Penny eventually was going to break down. It's just what happens with him. He's just one of those type of running backs. And Ken Walker, like you said during the draft process, was one of the best backs there, along with Breece Hall. And now coming in 23 carries in this game, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's now averaging 7.3 yards a carry. He's very good at football. He is very, very good at football, that Ken Walker. Biggest winner this week in week 7. Coming up in just a few moments, we are going to start breaking down and recapping all the action from week 7, game by game by game. We'll start off with the NFC, but for now, we're going to say goodbye to our audio listeners and give AJ that nice little break so he can clip the audio at the 30-minute mark and be nice and easy for him. Everyone tuning in on audio platforms, you guys need to get on our YouTube live on our YouTube page at the Sac City Pod. That's that. Coming up in just a few moments, so you'll see the nice little beat drop. You'll see the NFC thing. We're going to dive into the NFC games. Thank you, audio listeners. Please like, subscribe, and drop a review. And we'll be back again tomorrow for Fantasy Talk. Aaron, let's get into our NFC matchup previews. Let's do it. Let's dive into these NFC matchup recaps. I should have said before, they are actually recaps. And we're going to kick things off with a returning Dak Prescott getting the job done for the Dallas Cowboys in their win over the Detroit Lions 24-6. They moved to 5-2 as the Lions moved to 1-5. Dak Prescott in his return back, 19 of 25, 207 yards and a tutty, wins his first start after returning from that brutal hand injury that kept him on the sideline, and brought in Cooper Rush. Aaron, your takeaways from Dak Prescott's return?
It was all right. It was all right. Nothing to write home about. But also, I didn't expect it to be anything to write home about. Like we talk about what we're looking for Dak Prescott to be. Everybody else might be looking for something else, and I really don't care what they're looking for. What I am looking for is moments when you need the dynamic quarterback to make a play, they make a play. Moments where you can't have the ball turned over to the other team, they don't turn it over. Moments you need a drive to ice a game, they find a way to ice the game. See, the biggest misconception about these guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and what they do, because they throw the ball so much throughout the game, is that they're always perfect. They're not perfect. Patrick Mahomes threw a pick yesterday in this game, but when you need him to step up to go win a game, that's what you're asking your $40 million quarterback to do. That's the difference between, not trying to throw other names out there, Geno Smith and getting a big payday and a franchise quarterback that you believe in. It really is. It's not that we don't think these guys can play. Every NFL quarterback has been talented on their team before, whether that's been in college, high school. They've always been the best player. They've all been elite at some level. The problem is when you need it most, are they going to be there to make that play? And that's really the difference between a Cooper Rush and a Dak Prescott. And that's going to continue to be the difference between those guys. So they did what they needed to do. The defense carried them as they should, because that's what the strength of this team. And the running game was solid. And then you come in and you let Dak Prescott not make mistakes. And he had some tough throws early, but he figured it out. And then there were a couple of balls that he needed to put on time, on location, and he did. And that's what you're looking for. And it was pretty much what I expected out of this game. Could he have thrown 3 touchdowns? Absolutely. They just decided, hey, you know what? We're going to run the ball at the 1-yard line because we got Ezekiel Elliott, who's probably one of the biggest, strongest backs in the league, despite being, quote, washed. So they did exactly what they needed to do. 140 yards on the ground, played great defense, and Dak didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, 2 rushing touchdowns for Ezekiel Elliott in this game, a big part in their win. The defense of the Cowboys forced 5 turnovers on the Lions. It's the most turnovers the Lions have had in a single game since 2018. This Lions offense has been struggling as of late, especially the past 2 games. The shutout against New England Patriots in Week 5, now coming out of the bye, only scoring 6 points, the first 4 games of the season, they averaged 35 points a game. Now they can barely score a tutty. Is this just how much of this is the Lions offense being bad, and how much of this is the Lions offense being banged up now without Amon-Ra St. Brown and still no DeAndre Swift?
I think it has a lot to do with the injuries. And I'm not making excuses for them. They're a very creative play calling team. There were multiple opportunities in that game that they could have scored. The Jamal Williams fumble at the 1-yard line, that was tough. But they miss their dynamic players. They have nobody dynamic when you take DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown off the field. Look, I'm sorry. I'm not scared of Josh Reynolds. I'm sorry. I'm not, DJ Chark wasn't even there. Like, he's on IR. TJ Hawkinson has been basically a ghost of a tight end for most of the season. They're throwing to guys that I've never.
Khalif Raymond. Hey, put some respect on Khalif Raymond's name.
No, I wasn't talking about Khalif Raymond. I'm talking about Brock Wright. I know who Khalif Raymond is, but Brock Wright, I don't know really much about him. That's your one of your like main targets. It's just there's nobody dynamic, so it's hard to score. And I love Ben Johnson. I think he's a very creative play caller, and they had opportunities. But come on, when you're playing a defense like that, that's that elite, you got to have your guys. So they've struggled offensively. A couple of field goals there, couldn't punch it in the red zone. That made a difference. But Dallas has done a very good job of holding teams out of the end zone. They had only given up one touchdown. The Detroit Lions are what they are. They are a scrappy, exciting team, but it's a results-oriented league. And the results aren't there right now for the Detroit. It's not like it's Jacksonville. It's not like it's the Jets where they're coming away and they're getting some of these wins. And I'm not impatient. I'm patient with guys like Dan Campbell. Like, I don't want to see him go, but eventually in the NFL, that's going to wear thin, right? That rah, like, you have to couple that leader of men ability with results on the football field. But again, they have also not found their franchise quarterback. And everybody else has been given a chance to get that franchise quarterback, or at least draft their franchise quarterback. They chose to draft a wide receiver in this year's draft instead of going Kenny Pickett, instead of going Malik Willis. That was their choice. That, you know what I mean? Instead of going, trading up for that quarterback, they traded up for the receiver. Yeah. They took Aiden Hutchinson at 2, which is fine. You got your edge rusher. He is a beast, by the way. Next year, they're going to go get their franchise quarterback. But do you do that under Dan Campbell and then say, well, you only get next year? I
worry about that because, we've seen it before too with the problems that come with you going out and getting your franchise quarterback, but it's not the franchise quarterback that said head coach that you have wants. So do you go in and say, okay, we're giving Dan Campbell one more year. He's going to be able to take our franchise quarterback. And then he doesn't do good that first year because he has a rookie quarterback. And then it's like, shit, now we have a new coach, but now this new coach is not familiar with this quarterback. They're like, this is not
Justin
his quarterback.
Fields thing.
So it's like, yeah,
it's the same thing that happened with Justin Fields.
It's not a good situation if that's the route the Lions do go down. And it's been tough not to make excuses with the Amon-Ra St. Brown and the DeAndre Swift, but those are two big pieces that they do not have. We still have hopes for the Lions to bounce back. We're still rooting for Dan Campbell and this team because, well, they're just a fun team to root for. But Dylan would be very disappointed in you for not knowing who Brock Wright is. He is a second-year tight end out of the University of Notre Dame.
Nobody cares about Notre Dame. Didn't Notre Dame start in the top 10 this year? Where are they at? That's what
I don't know. They're the most overrated team in the college football every year. So I digress.
That's my point. Nobody cares about Notre Dame.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's move on here. The next game on our list, it's the Green Bay Packers falling to the Washington Commanders 23-21 in a game that, we thought most would hope that this would have been the bounce back game for the Green Bay Packers. It was not. Aaron, this was not your breakout game for Aaron Jones. This was not the bounce back game for the Green Bay Packers. All in all, this was not a great showing from a team that we all have high hopes for and have not lived up to expectations. With that being said, it is now time to bring on our guy. We're going to go from I'm trying to coin this new segment, and I'll work out the kinks eventually. But we're going to go view from the seats with our guy, Tyler the intern. Welcome onto the show. And once I get this graphic down, there's a lot of graphics here today, gentlemen. Tyler, oh my goodness, we can't see him. We can't see him.
Hey, this is better. This is better. Like, you might as well just call it you can hear the Packers funeral procession just driving down the road.
Can I say something, Vinny? Don't disrespect me like that.
What?
Why do you always mix our conversations? I said Aaron Jones was going to have a breakout game in fantasy and he was going to score 30 points. How many fantasy points did Aaron Jones have?
Well, I guess you're right. There you go. Merry Christmas. Happy.
The hell up
At
when you're
least that's
talking
the
to
one
me.
positive.
Hey,
At
you
least
shut
that's-
your mouth when you're talking to me.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Congratulations, Aaron Jones, on your huge fantasy day. You did nothing to help the Green Bay Packers win this football game. I'm just kidding.
He didn't get the
I'm
opportunity.
kidding. Relax.
Jesus
okay?
Christ,
Relax.
man. I call out AJ. I call out Dylan. When you make a mistake, I'm calling you out.
Hey, I am the host. I'm allowed to make mistakes. I got 30 million things going on over here producing this show. Back off. All right. Green Bay Packers lose this game 23-21. Now move to 3-4 on the year. Not what was expected from this team. I mean, the Packers the past few years under Matt LaFleur has not lost this many games at all. He's tied the most losses he's had in a season. Tyler, what's going on in Green Bay, man? Is this it? Are we done with is this it for the Packers? Are they done?
I mean, I think we started to see this last year in the playoffs. We get punched in the mouth one time, we can't retaliate. It's been the same thing that we saw against the 49ers in the playoffs. We've been seeing it so far this year against the Vikings and against Giants, Jets, and now the Commanders. We get punched in the face. They start to actually play well, and we just crumble. We can't do anything to stop a team defensively. It seems like we get away from our two best players in the running game with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, and it's just difficult to see because it's like you can obviously tell Rodgers is hurting with his hand injury that he's been having, and it just looks like that he's trying to force different stuff to try to win the game, and it's just not working.
Aaron,
if Aaron Rodgers is hurt, then this is all solely on Matt LaFleur. Simple. That game yesterday was never out of hand, was never not close. So you're up 14-10 at halftime. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon combined for 12 carries, but you're hurt. Your quarterback's hurt. I'm not sure what it is. I think there's still a disconnect between those two, and I don't think they particularly care for each other, but they found a way to respect each other and go through, what it is they've gone through over the past couple of seasons. But it's still just being so soft. The team is just like marshmallows on top of fluffy clouds. Like they're a soft ass football team with too much talent to be that damn soft. I don't get it. Like run it down Washington's throat. They're not good, and I get it. The defense couldn't get off the field, and they kept going 3 and out. They only had the ball for 22 minutes, so maybe that's why they didn't get to run the ball or have as many offensive plays as they normally do. They only ran 47 plays to Washington's 72. And it's not like they had a ton of turnovers. They had just the one fumble. So it's just that their defense can't get off the field on third down. They give up over 50% on third downs. Like they're soft. On offense, they can't convert third downs because they're freaking soft. They're setting themselves up behind the chains. It's either always a penalty or 9 penalties that put them behind the chains, and then it's 3rd and long, and then you're asking Aaron Rodgers to win it again, and he has a bad hand, and then he can't. So you're off the field again. They're just a soft-ass football team, and it's frustrating that they're that soft because they have so much talent. Despite the lack of wide receiver depth, and I get it, they don't have a lot of wide receiver depth, but that's not uncommon for Green Bay. Last year, they didn't have great wide receiver depth. They had Devontae Adams, but they've never been this. They've always found a way to make it work, and I've never remembered them being this soft. I knew their defense had times in the past where it had been soft, but Dom Capers right now is probably ready to blow his brains out because of watching this Packers defense do what they're doing. They're so damn soft. I don't get it. When you got a lockdown corner like Jair Alexander, when you got guys like Rashad Gary and these guys off the edge, and it's so irritating because I told you how I feel about the Packers at the beginning of the year. They're one of the most talented teams in football from a roster perspective. And I'm talking every level. The names people do not know. And yet they're so damn soft. And that's why they lost to the Washington Commanders. They're soft.
Yeah. I don't have a rebuttal to it. Like you could see Eric Stokes getting annoyed. You could see all these defensive players getting annoyed like throughout the game. And it's just like, well, then stop something. Try to do something to get the ball back, try to make an interception. Like, obviously, it's a lot difficult than what
I think it's
saying.
a scheme thing, though. Like, I really think this is about scheme. And I don't who's their defense coordinator? I forget who their defense coordinator is.
Dom Capers, I believe. Is it still Dom Capers?
No, it's not Dom. There's no way it's Dom Capers. That's not Dom Capers' defense. I'll tell you that right now. He hasn't been the defense coordinator for a minute. It's damn, why can't I think of his name?
Joe Barry. That's who it is.
Yeah. Listen,
I believe, right?
Joe Barry's got to be better. Yes, it's Joe Barry.
Okay.
He's got to be better. He's got to be better. Like, he can't. When you have the corner play that they have, everything should be in the face, aggressive mentality. Look at the top defenses in the league right now and what they are. Whether you talk about Dallas, whether you talk about the Giants, like, look at them. They are aggressive. They rush the passer. They play man-to-man coverage a lot, and they're up in the face of receivers. And Green Bay is like just soft. I don't know how to explain it. They're so damn soft. It drives me up a wall. I can't.
How do we fix this? What's
Fire
the
the defensive
solution?
coordinator and get somebody else?
We've tried that. We've tried that multiple times.
Well, but multiple times. You're saying you tried it multiple times. You were in an NFC Championship game for 3 straight years.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like every single year it's going back to, let's fire the defensive coordinator and try a new scheme, and then it just turns out to be the same scheme over and over and over again, and
that's the problem. So it sounds like the scheme is the problem. If it's the same scheme over and over again, the scheme is the problem. You can't continue.
Oh yeah, no.
He's frozen.
Continue to play different.
What'd you say?
I don't know. I said you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity. And so if the scheme is the problem and you continue to have the same scheme, then you got to change the scheme. The Dallas Cowboys had this issue, and I'm very familiar with this because that's what Dallas used to do. And then we had Rod Marinelli, and our defense was the same Tampa too. And it was like, okay, we're not stopping anybody. We have no pass rush. You go get a Mike Nolan, and you're like, oh my God, here we go. It's the same thing. They're putting people in bad positions until you get a guy that says, no, we are going to do this way. We are going to play to the personnel we have. They have literally 2 lockdown corners. If I have 2 lockdown corners, what am I going to think about doing? I'm going to make sure that there is no time for the quarterback to throw, because in the limited time they do have to throw, guess who they're probably going to be throwing it to? My lockdown corners. Press man, lock them up, and make them beat you. They don't want to give up big plays, so they just play soft and soft and soft. And so teams get third down. Now, if your offense goes 3 and out one time, what does that do? It puts a tired defense back on the field. So what do? They drive. It's like this repetitive cycle. You can never get off the field. It's insane. It's insane that they continue to do the same thing week after week after week. And they're not giving up. It's not like they're giving up a ton of yards. It's just they can't get off the field on third downs. And that takes time of possession and less possessions away from your franchise quarterback. And then you have to maximize every single drive. And they're slow on offense already. And I could go on for days what's wrong with the Packers. They are a methodical team that is playing a style of football that no longer is conducive to football in 2022. That's really what it is.
Clean house. That's that.
Speed up. Speed up.
Of,
just play the game faster. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I have some highlights of Aaron Rodgers, and this is one. Just him saying, "What the fuck are we doing?" And then the one that's gone viral. He's dead.
He's not dead. That was 7 games of frustration of an all-time, and listen when I say this, an all-time great talent that's wasting the end of his career, basically, at this point.
You think he knows? You think we see Aaron Rodgers leave after this year?
Yes.
I think he retires.
I think if we get smacked by the Bills, he's going to retire after the Bills game.
No, he won't. He won't.
Well, okay. I'm going to say this right now. I think if we get killed by the Bills, I think it's time to obviously look at us in like a sort of like look in a mirror and be like, okay, what are we doing? What do we want to do? Obviously, we have Aaron Rodgers still. I think we still have him for like 2 years. What are we doing? What is our fundamentals of offense now? Because like right now we're just trying to go through Aaron Rodgers, and obviously he's at the tail end of his career. Yes, he just won 2 back-to-back MVPs, but that was like our Super Bowl window right there. Was the last 2 years. Didn't get it done. Now what are we going to do? We lost Devontae Adams. We lost some key defenders. We did get some that we re-signed with Rasul Douglas, Devondre Campbell, and all them, but we still lost some pretty good depth with Darius Smith. We lost Billy Turner. We're losing pieces on the offensive line. So it's like we really need to take a step back and be like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going to go from here?
I'm gonna say this now, and we can wrap this up here because we got more games to cover. I could see Aaron Rodgers retiring after a bad year, and then the Packers get a high draft. They get a high draft pick, and it's like almost similar to like the Chargers in 2020. Like they had that high draft pick to go get Justin Herbert, and then the team around Justin Herbert was already like pretty damn good because it was just a bad year with Phillip Rivers beforehand, and they had the talent around him still. And it's like, oh, this team is too good to have a top 5 pick, but they do because they had that one bad year, and it gives them their franchise quarterback again. And it's like, I can see that happening.
I don't want it to happen.
I wouldn't want it to happen either. As someone who lives in the top
Vinny,
5 of the NFL draft as a Jaguars fan,
they're not going to take a quarterback. They're not going to take a quarterback. They have Jordan. Then what's the point of keeping Jordan Love? They should have just let Jordan Love get out of there. Like, they don't know what they're doing. Listen, you guys are overanalyzing. They just soft.
They just suck.
They're just soft. It's a mentality. The reason the Giants are kicking everybody's ass right now is because they're not soft. Soft football teams lose games. They're soft. And I'm not saying the players are soft. The scheme around what they're trying to do offensively and defensively is like, hey, we don't want to give up big plays. Hey, we're going to methodically go down the field. They're not applying pressure. They're not putting teams in and forcing teams to go out there and beat them. They're allowing teams to do what they want to do. They're not dictating the tempo. And when you don't have tempo, almost in any sport, if you do not control tempo, you are not in charge of that game, and you are going to be falling behind. That's in basketball. It's in hockey. It's in baseball. Like every sport I've ever watched, tempo is important, and you have to control that narrative, and they don't. They are very methodical in what they do, and they have always been very efficient. They're not efficient this year. They have to change that tempo, and they haven't done it yet. Aaron Rodgers has talked about it numerous times, about this scheme, saying we don't play with tempo. We don't play with tempo. They need to play with tempo.
Aaron Rodgers also says that this is good for the team. That what's happening right now is good for the team,
Yeah,
and they're
because
going to get
he
better
knows.
from this, and he does.
He knows, like, hey, well, who are they going to point at? Are they going to point at Aaron Rodgers? Probably not at the end of the day.
No. Aaron, let me ask you one more question, and it's on the Commanders side. They were the winning team here. Do they win this game if Carson Wentz is their quarterback?
Oh, my God. That's the biggest question everybody asked today. It's like, the Carson Wentz wouldn't have won this game.
If Carson... Okay, all right. That's it.
Taylor Heineke did not play. Taylor Heineke did not play good. He did not play well. But he did get the win. But they did not play.
Listen to this great list of quarterbacks to beat Aaron Rodgers this year: Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, and now Taylor Heineke. Not good, Bob. Not good. Not good at all. Tyler, we appreciate you hopping on again to talk Packers. We will bring you back on again to hopefully. Hopefully for you, talk about the Packers in a different light other than their struggles. But we appreciate you, buddy.
That's not going to be for a few weeks.
All right. Next game on our list, Aaron. Let's keep it rolling here. We're keeping it rolling with shit after shit after shit. The Panthers defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 21-3 at home. The Buccaneers continue to struggle after I can basically have the same narrative and the same script that I wrote for the Packers for the Bucs here. After losing to the Steelers last week, they now come back and lose. They didn't play the Steelers last week. I don't know why I keep saying that. They played the Saints last week. They lost to the
what?
Did they lose to the Saints last week? They won the Saints.
They played the Steelers.
Did they play Steelers? Which game was this? Am I forgetting something?
They lost
What's
to the
my
Steelers last week.
Okay, so I was right.
Can you put us up on the screen? We done stared at this recap enough.
Well, I got to reset now so you can clip this properly. The Carolina Panthers defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 21-3. Another struggling game for the Bucs. They back-to-back weeks now of tough losses. Last week against the Steelers, this week against the Panthers. Not good losses for the Bucs. Aaron, what's going on?
Well, what's going on is I don't clip based on what you say. I clip based on where you first put up that graphic. So I'm not even listening to you at this point. So I'm just going to clip where you first put up that graphic, and then you just wasted 25 seconds of nothing to redo it.
The math checks out.
Anyways, yeah, they got beat. This was perplexing. I didn't think that Carolina had much of an opportunity or a chance really to win this game. And the things that were alarming were the 173 yards allowed on the ground. It's not known for Tampa Bay. They've been a pretty good run defense. And I'm not trying to compare this to Green Bay in a way like you did, but they're soft up the middle. They are on both offensively and defensively. They're just soft up the middle. They don't have a whole lot of big guys, and the loss of guys like Ndamukong Suh and Jason Pierre-Paul and some guys that maybe they took for granted because they were older veterans, as the lawnmower drives right by my apartment. They took them for granted, and now they're kind of missing them. So this was I don't know. This game could have been different. I'll just say this. That catch that was dropped should have been caught by Mike Evans at the very beginning of the game. Those are the type of plays that it spirals. It's like a microcosm of everything that your team is going through in the season. If Mike Evans catches that ball, goes in for 6, it's now 7-0 Tampa Bay. That whole game might be different, right? Momentum is a real thing in the NFL. How you feel about yourself matters. And I truly believe that if Mike Evans catches that ball, goes in the end zone, Tampa Bay doesn't lose this game. Their offense clicks. But when you have stuff like that happen, it just was like an indicator, like, oh, this is the kind of day we're going to have. It's going to all fall apart. And it did. And so they just gotta find their way, man. I think they're still a good enough team. They just got to find their way. It's unfortunate that they're going through this, but they have some issues, obviously, with injuries. But I keep telling people it's not an excuse. Like, they are too good of a team, or at least have too much talent to fall into that trap. And now you look at where they go from here, and they go Baltimore and the Rams. Not easy games. Like, they've lost 4 or 5 now. And it's very concerning. I know they lose to the Packers and the Chiefs, but the Steelers, the Panthers, maybe they could have lost that Falcons game if it wasn't for a roughing the passer. And now you go play the Rams, Seahawks, and Ravens. It could get darker before it gets better if you're Tampa. Their schedule is not easy. They play a first-place schedule. So they got to get things going, and they got to get things going in a hurry.
It's similar to the situation with the Packers. They do have that first-place schedule, and if you're struggling, you are going to fall behind because you're not getting the benefit of having those easy games, those bounce-back games. And even in the bounce-back games, we're considering against teams like the Panthers and the Steelers, they're not bouncing back. Tom Brady hasn't missed the playoffs since 2002. It's the only time he missed the playoffs. Not to say that they're going to miss it this year because, again, if they're in the NFC South, it's wide open. They still have a very good shot at winning that. But it's definitely been a struggle for this team. This is a team that went 2 for 12 on 3rd down, 1 for 3 on 4th down. They're not converting. They're not getting the job done. It's just weird to see a Tom Brady-led offense only scoring 3 points. And give credit to the Carolina Panthers defense. They were making plays. They didn't force any big turnovers on Tom Brady, but they were just making plays when they needed to, and keeping the GOAT from scoring more than 3 points is an impressive feat. But this is a lot more about the Bucs just not having it. I
got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Kansas City started 3-4 last year. And I never wavered. Like we talked about it. I always felt like they were going to get things right. At which team do you think, either one, you have 3-4, you have the 3-4 Packers now and the 3-4 Bucs. Which team is more likely to pull off the Kansas City run where you go out and you win, your next 9 games?
That's the thing, though. That's the thing, though. You talk about that, and I think I brought this up on Thursday's show, or when we were previewing this game. I said that this, or previewing the Packers game. I brought that up that last year I had that doubt in the Chiefs, but they were winning games. They were finding ways to win games. Yeah, but they were finding ways to win games, but they had a bad loss here and there, but they were competitive all the way through, and they weren't playing terrible. They just weren't fine. They were
okay. So I had to look back at this because I didn't really remember. They were close against Baltimore. They lost 27-3 to the Titans, which made them 3-4. That was a game. They lost 27-3, and that's when the wheels fell off, and everybody said, "Oh my God, Kansas City."
Well, that's the thing. The wheels fell off when they lost to the Titans, who were playing. I know that I don't want to say the Titans were that good because I don't want to go back on what I said because I didn't think the Titans were that good last year. They still lost to a playoff team. We're not talking about the Panthers in the same light as we're talking about the Titans of last year. We're not talking about the Steelers in the same light that we talked about the Titans last year. And I'm not to go back to your question here. The only thing that I can think of here is what you said earlier on in the show is that the Buccaneers have the more clear route to making the playoffs because they have a division where it's the Saints struggling, it's the Panthers where they are, it's the Falcons who are where they are. It's just games that, or it's just a division with other teams that you should be able to win this division. It's wide open. It is yours.
So are you basically, so you don't think either one of these teams can go on a run? Because the Packers haven't lost. I would say that the Packers, outside of the Commanders' loss, they've lost to teams that we think suck or we assumed suck in the Giants and the Jets, and now that team's 5-2 and 6-1.
Well, that's where it's huge because the Packers' losses now are starting to look much better because, like you said, I mean they lost to the Jets, they lost to the Giants, who are two teams and the Vikings. Those are three teams currently in playoff spots right now. So like their losses aren't that bad, but when you look at what the Bucks have lost, who the Bucks have lost to, they've lost to the Steelers and the Panthers, and those are two teams that no one's even considering at all for the playoffs. Like that's not even close to being playoff teams. So
answer my question. Are you no, two questions now. Are you more concerned about the Bucks or the Packers? Who the Packers beat the Bucks? Remember that. Do either one of these teams have a chance to go on a KC-like run, and then at the end of the season, we're like, why did we doubt them? Like we should have known better. Two teams that have been in the playoffs for the last 4 years, championship games.
I don't see. I'll look at. I brought up the Packers schedule as well. I'll pull that up in a second. But like looking at this, I don't see a run on their schedule. I like against Baltimore. I don't have them winning. I like when we predict that game this week. I don't think I have them winning that.
So it shocks you if Thursday Tampa Bay is home against Baltimore and wins.
No, it wouldn't.
And then they beat the Rams, and then they beat the Seahawks. Then they go on a bye week.
That's the thing here. That's the biggest thing. When you look at those games, it's not shocking if they win those games. I'm just saying, not after the way we've seen the past few games from these teams. I'm not picking them to win these games. And when you talk about your question of whether or not they can go on a run, I can't say that they can, because is that week 12? Is that when Deshaun Watson's back week 12 against Cleveland? Is Watson back week 12 or is he back the next week?
I think.
So maybe your run is Seattle and Cleveland, those two games, maybe Seattle, Cleveland, New Orleans. That's your run. But then I can't see them beating San Francisco on the road. I don't think they beat Cincinnati. I think Arizona.
So I guess this is what I'm saying is, so then you're out on Tampa Bay. Like you like.
Well, I think so. What are they now? So they're 3-4 right now.
3-4.
A loss to Baltimore, 3-6. A loss to Los Angeles, 3-7.
You just
a win against
last number.
Huh?
You skipped the whole number.
Did I?
Yeah. 3-5, 3-6. After
3-5, 3-6, 4-6, 5-6. We'll say 6-6, 6-7, 6-8, 6-9, 7-9, 8-9.
You're out on the Buccaneers.
I think that I'm not saying they could make the playoffs at 8-9. They could win this division at 8-9.
You're out on the Buccaneers. They're not making the playoffs at 8-9.
They can't win the division at 8-9.
You're out on if they win that division.
I'm out on the Bucs in terms of like you said in the beginning of the show. I'm out on the Bucks winning a playoff game.
So
I mean, it's just different for Tom Brady in the playoffs.
So I guess what I'm saying is are we doing this too soon for these teams? Because they're not playing well, and we did this last year. And I'll include myself in this, but
you know what?
We did it last year.
You know what?
And we
flip it. Are we out on these teams? Are we doing this too early? You're the analyst. You're supposed to answer these questions. I can't answer these questions.
I think we might be doing it too early. And for them, I came on here and we started the show with saying, like, after 7 weeks, we know what these teams are. But I think for teams like Green Bay and for Tampa Bay, with the leadership that they have at quarterback, we have to say we're out. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like for you, you're like, I'm not picking them against Baltimore. Well, I don't know that I'm not picking them against Baltimore. Baltimore didn't look great against Cleveland. They won, but they didn't look great. Now they got to go on the road in a short week and play Tampa.
So that's 9-8. That would be 9-8. Because I mean,
but then the next game they're playing the Rams. Are you really that sold on the Rams?
No. God damn it.
Can Tampa Bay go win 7 in a row and would it shock you?
No.
No, it wouldn't shock you. That's what I'm saying. Like, can they do it? Yes. Are they is a different question. I think it's just maybe we need to pump the brakes on saying we're just out on Green Bay and Tampa Bay. And I'm including myself because I came on the show by starting by almost saying that. And I keep thinking about to last year's Chiefs, and I was like, how bad were they? And yes, you're right. Most of their losses came to better teams. They were losing to teams like Baltimore and Buffalo and Tennessee. But they also lost to the Chargers last year, who didn't make the playoffs.
I think the Chargers were a borderline playoff team last year. I don't want to say that was a.
Oh, now we're giving credit to borderline playoff teams.
I give that losses to those teams more credit than losses to Carolina and Atlanta or Carolina and Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh was the playoff team last year. They might get there this year. Who knows?
You're right. Okay, so from the Bucs side, they lose this game. Tom Brady has not lost 4 out of 5 games. It's the second time in Tom Brady's career he's lost 4 out of 5 games in any span of that 5 starts. PJ Walker on the other side of this, 16 of 22, 170 yards or 177 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. DJ Moore, thank you for going off on my bench this week in fantasy. Brian Burns notched a sack as well. Panthers, I mean, this was a good game for the Panthers. Not many takeaways from them, right? Not many takeaways.
Their defense has always been good. I've been saying that since last year. That's why I said they could be a playoff team with Baker Mayfield if he did his job, and he just sucked and he couldn't. So they get a quarterback, they'll be okay. Even losing Christian McCaffrey. Yep.
All right, next game on the list. It's the Kansas City Chiefs defeating the San Francisco 49ers 44-23. This is, this is what it is. The Chiefs are just that damn good. 44 points on the San Francisco 49ers defense that we all, yep, there you go. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Wait. Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Unbelievable. The Chiefs offense, 44 points on a San Francisco 49ers defense that we say is one of the best defenses in the NFL. Although they're a little banged up, it's still just Patrick Mahomes doing what Patrick Mahomes does. And a 49ers team, that's kind of where I want to go with this. They scored 23 points, unable to keep up with the high-powered, not many teams can keep up with the high-powered, fast-paced scoring offense of the Kansas City Chiefs. But what did you see from the Niners offense in this game that featured Christian McCaffrey in his debut with the team as well?
Yeah, like one of my biggest takeaways from the 49ers is they're going to be a dangerous offense if they get a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo continues to just be frustrating. But one thing I was impressed with despite the limited playing time, Christian McCaffrey is going to do wonders for this offense. Gives them another weapon, another versatility piece that they can use out of the backfield. So 49er fans should not be upset today. I'll say that again. They should not be upset today. I know your defense let you down, and they did not play well, but they also played against Patrick Mahomes, who we all know is the GOAT. Like, Patrick Mahomes is just it. He is that dude, right? So understand what you were going up against. And yes, you were at home. Yes, you maybe should have played some better defense, but it's Patrick freaking Mahomes. This guy is too good, and he showed again why he's the best quarterback in football. But I saw some really, really good things from the 49ers offense, from Brandon Ayuk, from George Kittle. That is positive takeaways, especially with the ability to get Christian McCaffrey ramping up. They have a bye week coming up after they play the Rams. We've known how they've dominated the Rams. I expect them to dominate them again, get a win, go to the bye week at 4-4, and be set up prime for a second half run. I'm not wavering from what I said on Thursday. The 49ers right now, to me, defense has to get back to where they were at, but they get some pieces back. Nick Bosa came back. Trent Williams came back. Jimmy Ward, like he's playing with a cast on his hand and he still got called for holding. I don't know how that's possible.
That doesn't make sense.
He's back, and I think that's going to go a long way in helping them. And it's still right now, if I had to pick one team to represent the Super Bowl in the NFC right now, if I was forced, gun to my head, taking the Cowboys. No, I'm just playing. I'm picking the Niners. I would pick the Niners.
Gun in my head, I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks. Just kidding.
Yeah, and it's close. It's close. Like Philly's there, Dallas right there, but I think those three teams are the best teams in the NFC. And I really don't think it's particularly close either right now. Maybe you throw Minnesota in there if their defense can show up, but outside of that, there's not much.
Yeah, this game was huge, though. I mean, we talk about, and I want to give, we just talk about the Niners. Got to give credit to someone who gets a lot of credit for being as great as he is, Patrick Mahomes in this game. 25-34, 423 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have a pick in this game, but you look at the wide receiver stats, and it's not all on Patrick Mahomes for doing this, but 3 touchdowns for Mecole Hardman, 124 yards for Juju Smith-Schuster and a touchdown. 111 yards for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I mean, this is, and then you throw in what Travis Kelce was able to do. He got his usual stuff, and we got to see Chad Henne in this game. Anytime you get to throw in your backup, that means you're doing something right. This is a special team with what the Kansas City Chiefs have, and I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season, and I know the Bills beat them a few weeks ago or last week, but damn it, this offense is just. So,
you knew it was gonna happen. The Niners couldn't see them at a worse time coming off the loss from Buffalo.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean.
Well, I didn't know this was gonna happen. I didn't know that this was gonna happen because I thought 30. I said 30 from the Chiefs in this game as my prediction. A 40 spot. This team is just on.
And you got to remember this team was down 10-0 or 13-0 in this game. And you never watch that. You never watch the Chiefs play, get behind by 10, and you're like, oh no, this is going to be one of those games. Like you're always like, oh, they're going to come back. Like you never have a doubt. And then the game they don't come back, it's more shocking than the games they actually do come back. Like it's just insane how good they are.
I'm going to throw this one out there as well. Just for as a Super Bowl note, Patrick Mahomes in his career against the NFC now 16-2. 16-2 against the NFC, 48 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Let's hope Patrick Mahomes does not get to the Super Bowl because he might do more damage to whoever he faces.
To be fair to most people in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes' record against every team is good. Like
that's also true.
He doesn't lose very many games each year, so
that's also true. The next game on our list, it's the Atlanta Falcons falling to the Cincinnati Bengals 35-17. The Bengals offense is firing on all cylinders in this one. Jamar Chase having a day, Tyler Boyd having a day, and Joe Burrow throwing at an absolute unbelievable pace, 400-plus yards. This man just dominated in this game. A great game from the offense from the Cincinnati Bengals, 35 points. Are they back? Is this offense
First, I'm disappointed because I was going to get up, but you didn't play the drop. So,
oh shit! Wait, hold on.
Wait, I got to get up. So when you do your drop, make sure you bring up the matchup graphic again.
Okay, got it. Great, fantastic. All right. Well, false
drop
alarm.
it.
Oh, hold on. I have to bleed. Okay, fine. let's try this intro again to this game. The Cincinnati Bengals take down the Atlanta Falcons 35-17 here. The Bengals offense is back, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Burrow, 481 total yards here passing, 3 touchdowns. He had 3 rushes for 20 yards and a rushing touchdown. So 4 total tutties from Mr. Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase had a day. Tyler Boyd had a day. This offense is firing on all cylinders. Aaron, is this it? Are we back with the Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, yeah. I mean, I told you guys this. This is why when we had this argument about where they are in the power rankings, I said, hey, don't hesitate to put Cincinnati up high, because they had been being carried by their defense, very similar to what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. Their defense had been carrying them, and you just knew the weaponry that they have on offense. Eventually, they're going to get going. What I saw yesterday from Joe Burrow, was the first time, and this includes the 500-yard passing games that he threw last year, in those 2 games like in Baltimore. This is the first time I said, that's the franchise quarterback. That's the guy right there. If he plays like that, that's the Super Bowl winning quarterback. Even with those big games before, because he did not, he came out just on fire, was accurate, he owned the game. It was everything about the way he played said that's what the Bengals need.
Yep.
And he did it. So Bengals fans should be very, very satisfied today. And I get it. It's the Atlanta Falcons. And maybe it's not a huge, impressive win. But that's a team that's been scrapping all year, and Joe Burrow made minced meat out of them. Sure, they were down their 2 best corners. Doesn't matter. You did what you were supposed to do. They made absolute minced meat. Are there still concerns about the Bengals offense? Perhaps. The running game is still it's very lackluster, not there. That could be an issue for them going forward. But when you got Tyler Boyd going for 100, Jamar Chase going for 100, and T. Higgins 1 catch away from 100, that's what you signed up for. That's what Joe Burrow is there for, and he showed out. So on the Bengals side, you're sitting here today, and you're very, very happy with the way things played out. And I'll just be honest, they're shooting up my power rankings. So, and I know, again, it was a win against the Falcons at home. I understand all that.
Just the way
it was impressive. It was an impressive game.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, I'm not sure how much you can say, it's the Falcons, because really it's like the Falcons team has been giving hard times to just about everyone they've played against. And
I'll get to that. Because I'm going in on it.
Okay, well, they've been making it hard for most teams that they've played against, and Joe Burrow and company comes in here and just dominates. Joe Mixon, like you said, the rushing game, though, might be the most interesting part, or the most not concerning, but room for improvement for this offense in a game where there was a lot of good. Joe Mixon, 17 carries, 58 yards. He did find the end zone, though, there. 3 receptions, 33 yards for Joe Mixon as well. Like you said, T. Higgins was just outside 100 yards, and this offense just looked great for the Bengals. Let's shift gears to the Falcons, though. What do you got for your birds?
Yeah, so I've been pretty consistent on this show with giving the Falcons credit this year, as far as they were better than I thought. They play hard, they play tough. Arthur Smith's done a good job. He knows who they are. But this is what gets on my nerves. Because just because you know who you are doesn't mean you have the right to cost your team a chance to win football games. And yes, Arthur Smith needs to be blamed. It was an absolute travesty the way he coached yesterday against the Cincinnati Bengals team. They were down 28-0 or some crazy. They score 17 points in the second quarter. They make it 28-17. They're back in the game. It goes to 35-17 in the fourth quarter. And still, he was so ignorant to the fact that they were down by so many points that he's running the ball on first and second down, milking the clock. I've never watched a football game, ever watched a football game, when you're down 18 points in the fourth quarter, 3 scores, or whatever it is, 17, 18, you're down 3 scores in the fourth quarter, and your quarterback has still only thrown the ball 13 times. I don't even know what that is. Like, this is an absolute crime. It's an absolute crime to the Atlanta Falcons that he did not give them an opportunity to come back in that game and win because he did not want to put the ball in Marcus Mariota's hands. And if that is the case, I don't care about identity. If that's the case, why the hell isn't Desmond Ridder in the game?
Yep. Bingo.
And if it's not the case, if you're just too ignorant, if you really do trust Marcus Mariota, then why are you not throwing the football? You are down 3 scores in a game where your team fought back to get back in it. And now you're down 3 scores, and you think that the Cincinnati Bengals are just going to allow you to continue to just run the football and not with all honesty, I'm watching the end of this game like, what in the hell is going on? It's like you're not giving up, because I don't think Arthur Smith's quitting. He just wants to stay true to who he is. But your team is looking at you like, bruh, why are we not throwing the ball? We are down by 18 points. And I thought that was the biggest travesty of the weekend. Like, seriously, I was like, come on, man. And you can't say they're tanking because they've won games. They've tried to win games, but this is just how they play football because they're not comfortable at the quarterback position. But if that's the case, then your ass better put your rookie in that game and let him struggle. Because
that's the biggest thing here. We talked about earlier on in the season with teams like Tennessee when they were struggling and Atlanta, that like, what's the difference? Like, what is now Tennessee obviously is in a different position, but Atlanta's not. What's the difference? I would still say the
same thing in Tennessee, though. That didn't change anything. What's the difference between the quarterbacks?
That's the thing. What is the difference between what Marcus Mariota is doing and what Desmond Ridder is doing that they can't, like, if you're losing games and you're admitting defeat in games like the way Arthur Smith did, put in Desmond Ridder, get him going, get him the reps, get him, see what you have in him. I mean, this is, I agree. I think it's Desmond. It should be Desmond Ridder time in Atlanta. That's where I'm at. Now the Falcons, though, they moved to 3-4, still right in it though for the NFC South. Maybe they I don't know. Who knows with the way that's going right now. But the Bengals, this is a huge game for them, even though it was coming against the Falcons team that no one had really high hopes for. They took care of business, got the job done. Offense looks great. They win this one 35-17 here. The next game on our list, it's the Tennessee Titans taking control of the AFC South, beating the Indianapolis Colts 19-10. This game was, we did see Malik Willis for, I believe, a play or two here. Ryan Tannehill got nicked up. But the Titans take care of business on the backs of a big performance from Derrick Henry, 30 carries, 3 receptions, 138 total yards. This is typical, this game, right? This is a typical Colts Titans game where Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, whichever running back has the better game is the team that wins, right?
Yeah, but we were lied to. We were lied to by the Colts. I don't know what's going on with Jonathan Taylor, but 44 passes from Matt Ryan, 10 carries for Jonathan Taylor. It's not like he wasn't running effective. He had 10 carries for 58 yards. He averaged 5.8, so maybe he's banged up still. But we were lied to with that they were going to lean on him and they were going to go back to what they know. And Matt Ryan's just a turnover machine. This is the Colts are not it. The Colts are done. Yes, they're 3-3. They're done. They have no shot, like zero shot. Their team is not good. This is very similar to the way I said the Tennessee Titans last year. I didn't feel like we're a good team, and they somehow won the AFC. And but I knew, like, they just never believed in them. And the Colts are the same way. The tie, the win against the Chiefs, the win against the Broncos, the win against the Jaguars. It's all false. It's all fake. It's not real. It's an illusion. It's a figment of our imagination. They are not good. And the Tennessee Titans were a product of, having some help in this one. So they won the game. And I expect Tennessee to win some more regular season games because that's what they do. They're a great regular season team. But them too, at the end of the day, they're a figment of our imagination. They look a certain way. They've won 4 straight now, guys. They're on their way. They beat the Colts twice, the Commanders once, and then they got the win against the Raiders. Calm down.
And in this game, I mean, your offense doesn't score a single touchdown here. 4 field goals for Randy Bullock. Pick six, a 78-yard or 76-yard pick six for Andrew Adams, the longest pick six by a Titan since 2012. The first defensive touchdown for the Titans since week 9 of last season. There's my fancy stats of the day for this game. But it's just
annoying. It's annoying that these guys go draft these quarterbacks, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, and then they watch their veteran who goes 13 for 20 for 130 yards, and you think that's special, and so you're okay with just leaving him in there. And I'm like, bro, I could go in there and do that. And yes, I'm being sarcastic, but that is what every NFL quarterback should be able to do. They might as well just go get Cooper Rush. That's what Cooper Rush did for 4 weeks. There's a reason why that's a backup quarterback. You're paying $100 million to Ryan Tannehill. Like whatever, 80 million, whatever it is. He's making $20-30 million a year to go 13 of 20 for 130 yards. No. I'm sorry. Malik Willis should be in the game. And let him go 13 of 20 and get that experience and maybe give you a little bit more on the ground and be dynamic and see if you actually have a franchise guy. It's getting old. It's wearing thin. And these teams, these are the type of teams that are 9-8, 10-7, get into the playoffs and have absolutely zero. And I say this with emphasis, zero chance to win a Super Bowl. Zero. No shot, no late season run, zero. You know why the Bengals went on their late season run? Because they have a dynamic player at quarterback who can throw for 400 yards and then go and run the ball a little bit and find guys on the outside. Tennessee, the Colts, the Falcons, these teams, like they have zero. The Giants, 6-1, that's all beautiful. Zero chance to win Super Bowls this year. And I'm sorry, as a fan, I hate that. I hate being that team that, we can get close, but never really have a chance to win a Super Bowl.
That's how I feel about the Rangers in hockey, by the way. But either way, Titans now move to 4-2. Colts now 3-1. The Titans will travel to Houston next week to take on the Texans. And the Colts will host the Washington Commanders. The next game on our list, it's the New York Giants taking down the Jacksonville Jaguars 23-17. The Giants moving to 6-1 on the season. What a start for the G-men here. Aaron, what did you see from the Giants in this victory against the Jags?
I didn't hear the question. Sorry.
What did you see from the Giants in their victory against the Jags?
I saw a team that was a little bit more ready for the moment than the Jaguars. I thought the experience of Daniel Jones, which sounds crazy, but the experience of Daniel Jones is actually what won them this game. I try to tell people like how much experience matters in the NFL and being in situation and in moments and understanding what to do in those moments matters. And we saw that. Jacksonville, once again, had a lead late and just couldn't hold it. But again, you mentioned this earlier. We told you this was going to happen. And I know he loves his name said on this show, so I'll say it, Bailey. Yes, we got an argument on Facebook. Yes, you keep telling me Peterson's a fraud. You sound like an absolute.
Can we not?
Let me do it. Let me do it.
I want to get into the. Okay, go right.
We argued for an hour about this yesterday. It's absolutely idiotic for somebody to come on here in Game 7 for a team that went through exactly what Jacksonville went through last year with Urban Meyer and not even showing up for games, to come on here after 7 weeks, the Jaguars being in every game, winning some of those games, blowing out teams that are now 4-3 and 5-2, and saying that he's a fraud, that Doug Peterson's a fraud. Are there flaws in his scheme? Absolutely. And the flaws I pointed out are directly pointed to the franchise quarterback that Trevor Lawrence has to become. He loves to be aggressive. That is his mentality. If you start trying to pick and choose when you want your coach to be aggressive, then you are just being an idiotic fan. Doug Peterson is the best thing that's happened to the Jaguars since I don't know when. Like literally.
Doug Marrone took us to the playoffs in 2017.
He is the right guy for the job. The difference is the inexperience of the players on the field. 4th down and short, your job is to get a first down. It's not your coach's job to try to protect you and say, hey, we're going to kick field goals. Because you know what happens when you kick field goals? You lose. You lose when you kick field goals. Ask the 49ers what happened to them yesterday when they were up 13-0 or 16-0 over Kansas City, because every time they got in the red zone, they kicked field goals. In the NFL, you have to score touchdowns and kick field goals late to win it. The fact of the matter is, they needed to score touchdowns. He knew that. He didn't want to give the defense an opportunity to be back on the field, so he went for it on fourth down sometime. Guess what? That's what you pay Trevor Lawrence to do, is to get those downs and to get first downs. So I'm tired of hearing it. I'm not going to address it again. This is the last time I'm going to say it. For every Jaguars fan or Bengals fan or Chargers fan who keeps getting on these damn coaches for going for it on fourth downs and saying, oh, I don't know if they're going to be so aggressive, kick a field goal. You're also the same fan that complains about your field goal kicker when they miss the damn kicks. Stop complaining. This is why I call fans stupid, because they're stupid. They're dumb. They don't understand the game of football. All they want to see at the end of the game is whether we win or we lost. And when you lose, they have all these reasons why. It's the coach, it's the quarterback. You don't know why. You just know you're a fan and you're upset that you lost. So the fact of the matter is you don't know if Doug Peterson's a good coach because you don't know football. And I'm saying it, Bailey. I'm calling you out because you don't know football. He is a great Super Bowl winning coach. Despite what you feel and your emotions, and usually I get on Vinny about this, take your damn emotion out of it as a fan and look at the game of football. Who wins championships? It's the guys that go for it. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl in Philly with the Philly special, with going for it on fourth down all the time. That's how he won. And we're going to now say, well, he should take field goals and be more conservative. And nah, stop it. I'm done. Your turn, Vinny. Get on. Go do what you got to do. I'm done.
I mean, you said it and summed it up really, really great there. And honestly, I'm very happy that I'm at a point in my life where I don't have to, like, I'm straying away from the fan side of things, because, and I know every fan base has this. Every fan base has this. The ridiculous fans that think, oh, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. We suck again. In the Jaguars case, people are saying we're worse than what we were with Urban Meyer. We're just like what we were last year, or just absolutely ridiculous things. And all fan bases have this, not just Jaguars fans, but everybody. And I don't want to just single out them, but as I am a Jaguars fan. Everyone is well aware of this on this show, that I am a Jaguars fan. And I'm a part of fan groups, on fan pages on Facebook. I'm a part of one Jaguars fan page, and I'm just seeing the nonsense that people are spewing about this team. And we talked about this at the beginning of the season, where the Jaguars are going to be. We said this on the show, but because they win 2 games against the Chargers and the Colts, they're like, oh, now the expectations are changing. Now the needle is moving. Now we're changing the narrative of what we thought this Jaguars team would be. But we're forgetting about the real expectations of this team, because we won 2 games, because we beat the Chargers and we beat the Colts. Great. Let's remember where we're supposed to be with this team, okay? The biggest concern out of all of this for me, if anything, is I am starting to get a little concerned about Trevor Lawrence. A little concerned. I'm not out on him. I'm not saying he's Ryan Leaf. I'm not saying he's a terrible quarterback or he's a bust, because that's just absurd. But I'm seeing that from people, and it drives me absolutely bananas. And I'm like, okay, I'm very glad I have now gone away from the fan side of things, and I'm just a neutral person here. But in all seriousness, and to address this game, I'm not overly impressed with what I have seen from Trevor Lawrence. The things that I've wanted to see from him, I have not been able to see. In this game, we talked about the pressure that he was going to face from this Wink Martindale defense, and he saw it. Lots of pressures, having to force him to make plays. He didn't get sacked a whole lot, but I want to see him, and correct me if I'm wrong here, maybe he doesn't have this ability in him as much as I think, but he's a mobile quarterback. He's not a mobile quarterback like Lamar, but we've seen Trevor Lawrence in the past be able to make plays with his legs and find lanes if nothing is available. I'm just not seeing that enough from him in this game. And I saw multiple times in this game against the Giants where I thought, okay, instead of especially on the last drive, on that game winning, on the final drive of the game where he got him down to the one. We had the chance with Christian Kirk and he just didn't make it. But there were certain plays where I'm like, okay, instead of throwing an incompletion there or almost getting the ball intercepted and being saved by a few penalties, I thought he could have ran. I thought he could have made a little play with his leg. But again, I'm not the X's and O's guys on the show. I'm not going to say I know football better than the coaches or better than a first overall pick in Trevor Lawrence. But that's just what I'm seeing from this. And my biggest concern with the Jags, one last note before you go, I apologize. We can wrap this game up in a bow in a second. But the Jaguars here in this game, no turnovers. They have not forced a turnover in the last 3 games that we're talking about. Oh, they're losing these bad games. They had 9 takeaways in just their first 4 games. That's a big difference as well in this team, not being able to force those turnovers. Dumb penalties on defense, not forcing turnovers. That's my spiel on the Jags. The floor is yours, and then we can move on to our next game.
Yeah, so the thing about Trevor Lawrence is I wouldn't be concerned about stuff like that, especially about using his legs. Yeah, maybe he could use his legs more on the last drive. I disagree. I don't think you should be using your legs there. Number one, you have to understand they had no timeouts. Use your legs. The defense probably doesn't let you out of bounds. It takes longer for you as a quarterback to run. Then your offensive line has to go follow you. You have to get up, spike it. It's easier just to throw that incomplete pass and stop the clock. So there are times from a strategic standpoint you don't want him to take off, and that was one of them. But I do think I've said that before. I felt like maybe he should run a little bit more, but that could also be drawn up to where they don't want him to run. Maybe it's they might be preserving. I saw Tua do this last night, put his head down and go run and try to run somebody over. And I'm like, bro, you just came back from a damn near death experience. Why are you doing that? You're the franchise quarterback. Sometimes you have to understand that your value is being on the field, and developing Trevor Lawrence is so important. It's still year 1 under Doug Peterson. And the amount of leaps that I've seen is I mean, it's tremendous for me from what I saw last year.
Yeah.
The turnovers are way down.
Exactly.
We're through 6 games now. He has four interceptions. His turnovers are way down, which is significant. He looks more comfortable. He looks like he's starting to understand the offense. And let's remember, despite how much I thought Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, and I think they're helping him and they're weapons, he still doesn't have an alpha male receiver. It's not like he has some Jay Jettas out there or Tyreek Hill, or like he's got guys that are good that we think can make things happen, but he doesn't have an alpha male receiver. The offensive line has new pieces that are still kind of coming together. And you have a new coach and a new scheme. The biggest concern I have with the Jaguars is the timing of the penalties they get. It's not even that they get penalties. It's like comes at the worst times, and you're like, oh my God. And it costs you games. That I have always said this. Penalties are a direct result to coaching. I truly believe that. I think teams that are undisciplined have penalties. It's just what happens. But the undisciplinedness of Doug Peterson on those coaching mistakes as far as penalties, it's what he's always been. You knew you were getting that with him. Philly was one of the most penalized teams when he was there, because he's a players guy. He likes to relate to his players. That's what he is. You know that. It's the same thing in Dallas with Mike McCarthy. When you make that hire, you understand that. The players ultimately have to be responsible for their actions. Trayvon Walker's roughing the passer penalties number of times. Holding penalties in inopportune times, putting you behind the chains, keeping other teams on the field on third downs. Those are things that young teams do. Young teams, a veteran coach wants to instill something. Young players are dumb. They are stupid. Yes, football players are stupid. They do things they're not supposed to do. The block in the back when the play is already past them. It's a mental thing. When you get experience and you get veteran players, they don't make those mistakes. So let the team grow together as one. Now that you have a core, guys locked up under contract, talk to me 2 years from now and see where the Jaguars are at. Then we can have the Doug Peterson conversation. Not after year 1, after 7 games where they've already exceeded expectations. Like, they're in every single game. They're battling. Yes, they're going to lose because they're inexperienced and young. The conversation is not to be had today about Doug Peterson or that job.
Yep. Yeah. And a bright spot on the Jag side, Travis Etienne, 14 carries, 114 yards, his first career rushing touchdown. And as all the Jaguars talk that we've had, there is still the other team in this, the Giants, 6-1 now, off to a great start to their season. Their 4-game winning streak is, their 4 games that they've won. They won 4 games last year alone, and now they're on a 4-game winning streak. Most wins in a season over the last 6 years. This team is on a great pace right now, finding ways to win. Comebacks. They were down. They found a way to win. Shout out Daniel Jones in this game as well.
9-1.
Yeah,
Giants are going to be 9-1.
Yeah, it's wild to think where the Giants are at right now, looking great and a deserved win for this team. The next game on our list, the Baltimore Ravens defeat the Cleveland Browns 23-20 here. Not a great day from not a great day from Lamar Jackson, not a great day from Mark Andrews, but a team that finds ways to win is always a good team. And they did here 23-20 over the Cleveland Browns. Shout out Gus Edwards for coming back strong here. 16 carries, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns for him in his first game back. Obviously, no J.K. Dobbins for the Baltimore Ravens. Aaron, your takeaways from this Ravens win?
I don't know. It was a weird game. One thing I haven't really looked up, like I felt like that offensively, it wasn't even bad. Baltimore actually possessed the ball longer than Cleveland did, but they just ran the ball a ton. It was just an ugly, I don't know, it was one of those battles in the AFC North. It was just sloppy. Lamar, but he only threw 16 times. It wasn't your typical Lamar day. He ran the ball a little bit more, 10 carries, but they bottled him up pretty good. Cleveland's defense, I thought, played well. In order to shut out Mark Andrews, you have to play well. So I thought that was impressive by them. But there are some times when you look at a game and you just don't have a whole lot. You just kind of plays out the way you thought.
That's kind of why I went to you with that question.
There's not a lot here. But I'm not like making any judgment because it's easy for people to be like, oh, Lamar didn't have a great day. Well, you had 9 for 16. How great of a day can you have when you throw the ball 16 times? I mean, you could have went 12 for 16 because he didn't throw a touchdown. Well, I'm sorry, they ran the ball in the end zone on the goal line instead of throwing it. Could they have ran play action and threw it to Mark Andrews? Sure, they could have. And then Lamar Jackson's day doesn't look so terrible. So this is what we do as fans. We look at box scores and we say, he didn't play well. He didn't play that great, but he didn't really have to. Like they just won the game. He ran for another 50 yards. That does count. Those numbers count on the stats. So I just thought this was a defensive AFC North typical battle. That's really what it was.
Yeah. Sometimes the games are just simple. In terms of analysis, there's not a whole lot. Only 4 players in this game had receptions for the Baltimore Ravens. None of them were Mark Andrews. It's the second time in Andrews' career he went without a reception. For the first time, for the first time since Week 14 back in 2018 was the last time he was held without a reception.
One note about that. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was on him a lot. And we talked about the versatility of him. And he also forced a fumble yesterday. He is kind of starting to make a name for himself as a defensive player. And I know it's in Cleveland, so nobody pays attention. You got Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. But he has started to play really well lately.
I think if anything, if we're talking about like takeaways from this game and what to like go into and dive into, we talked about this Browns defense needing to step up. Obviously they didn't get the win in this game, but holding a Ravens offense to 23 points when they had Rashad Bateman back, they had Mark Andrews, they had Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards was doing what he was doing.
Deion Jones played though. That was his first game in.
Yeah.
Cleveland. I hate when I freeze, but we had
Deion
talked
Jones
about Deion Jones' first game back. Obviously, Cleveland has the names on defense. We've talked about just underperforming, but when you look at their roster, you're like, this should be one of the best defenses in football. And they played well yesterday, so you have to give them some credit. Yeah. Having that AFC North, the type of football that this division is accustomed to playing, that's what this game was. It was just sloppy. It was who ran the ball a little bit better, and at the end of the day, it was Baltimore that got the late win. They ran for more yards, and they were able to make some plays when it mattered most. But it was a win. They got a win in a division game. That's always tough. So shout out to them, and Cleveland falls again.
Yeah, that's the tough part for the Browns. There does have to be a loser in a game that didn't have much deep analysis for. They moved to 2-5. The Ravens moved to 4-3. Next up for the Browns, they host the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, and the Ravens have the Bucks on Thursday Night Football. Two teams that are going to go play primetime next week. The next game on our list is the New York Jets defeating the Denver Broncos 16-9. Obviously, no Russell Wilson in this matchup. We got to see Brett Rippon come in and do about the same thing Russell Wilson's been doing, only scoring 9 points for the Denver Broncos. Big time loss to the New York Jets in this game. They lose Breece Hall, left in the second quarter with a knee injury. It is not looking good for him. The Jets were still able to find a way to win here, 16-9. What did you see from the Jets offense, more so from a side of once Breece Hall left the game?
Their offense is not very good. The Jets have struggled offensively, especially in the passing game. And, you try to add weapons when you get Elijah Moore, who didn't play, Corey Davis, who left with an injury, and Garrett Wilson. The Jets, something isn't right on the offense. And I'm not really sure what it is. They can run the ball. They do a good job of that. But Zach Wilson is kind of underwhelming at this point. And I know he's just getting his feet under him and all that. But I think there's something that's not working, and I haven't been able to put my finger on it. I don't know why their offense is so sloppy and so ugly. It's not like Zach Wilson played bad. Like, you watch it, you're just like, it's a lot of short stuff. It's
very game managing.
Yeah,
they're just very game managing, and that's.
But I don't want to see that from Zach Wilson, because I'm looking for my franchise quarterback. I want to see a guy that's got to go out and maybe take some chances a little bit, and that bothers me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fair. And it's, I don't know. Obviously, Robert Saleh is not calling the plays for the offense here, but I think it's still his system. It's still his team. And he obviously came from San Francisco, where it was a similar system to this: run the ball, let your quarterback be a game manager. And I think it's a downgraded version of Jimmy Garoppolo here. I mean, he's not throwing a whole lot, 26 attempts in this game, 121 yards, no tutties, no interceptions. It's just enough to get by. And like you said, you want to see your franchise quarterback, or you want to see your potential franchise quarterback be that guy and go out there and win you games. Either way, though, Zach Wilson's to 4-0 as a starter this season. He was 3-10 last year as a starter. So it's a good start for the Jets. It's a good start for Zach Wilson. From the Broncos side of things, I don't mean to skip over this. I do want to talk about Sauce Gardner here. 3 pass breakups in this game, leads the NFL with 11 pass breakups this season. This defense has looked great. Sauce Gardner, your big standout though, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a lockdown corner already, and teams keep trying him. It's just what they do. They keep trying him, and it hasn't stopped. I really like what I've seen from him. I think his ability kind of speaks for itself. And at the end of the day, man, if you get a lockdown corner, you can find your quarterback, you get an edge rusher, you have a chance in this league. So I just want to see more from Zach Wilson. That's really my biggest takeaway from the Jets is I want to see them put Zach Wilson in more favorable spots to push the ball down the field. Mike LaFleur, I think that's his name. I think LaFleur's brother, Mike LaFleur, hasn't done a good job of that.
Yeah. I agree that let Zach Wilson cook. Oh man, we're gonna. Yep. Aaron's gone. Aaron has left me. He'll be back in a second, though. In this game, though, Brett Rippon was the other quarterback on the other side for the Denver Broncos. He was 24 of 46, 225 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. The Denver Broncos have 4 touchdowns, 4 red zone touchdowns on the year. Brett Rippon was able to come into this game and do that by himself and made that happen. And now that Aaron's back, I can actually ask you the question here. What was your take, or were you good to come back? Are you all good?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't. My audio, because my AirPods died, it wouldn't connect. I couldn't hear what you were saying, so I had to leave.
All good. I was just rambling on about Brett Rippon's stats in this game. Any takeaways from the Broncos here without Russell Wilson?
Their offense sucks. They suck. I told you be very wary of Cortland Sutton yesterday. 3 for 23. And these are fantasy talks, I know. But I said that I would start just about anybody over Cortland Sutton.
And you could have just about started anybody over Cortland Sutton and got more fantasy points. So, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. This is tough. And Joey B in here talking about how the Broncos will have a top 2 pick in 2023. They don't have a pick in the first round in 2023. And I'm not sure if they have a pick in the next first round either. I'm pretty sure they've given a lot to the Seattle Seahawks.
Joey B out here TMZ in this news. Ain't no way ain't no team sitting Russell Wilson so they can sell some tickets in London, bro. Those London tickets been sold. Nobody cares about marquee quarterback. He ain't a marquee quarterback.
Hey, and really here, let's be honest. The Jaguars are the biggest seller for London. So you're in a game against them, so you're going to be
London don't care. They don't even know who's playing half the time. They just cheer for you go to a London game and they got Cowboys jerseys at Broncos games and Jaguars jerseys at Miami games and Dolphins jerseys at UFL games. It doesn't matter.
UFL? What the hell's UFL? Is that
who knows? They got jerseys. I seen one fan. He had an XFL jersey from the first XFL. It was the Rod Smart "He Hate Me" jersey on it. I'm like, bro, you know this ain't an NFL team, right?
Still real to me, damn it. All right, Jets beat the Broncos 16-9. The Jets move to 5-2, flip the record. The Broncos are 2-5 this season. Next game on our list, it's the Las Vegas Raiders defeating the Houston Texans 38-20. And I'm not sure if it's PC to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. It was a battle of the dogs, dog fight in Las Vegas between 2 running backs here, Dameon Pierce, Josh Jacobs here. These 2 guys, they were just dogs all over the place.
Hey, these are 2 of my better takes. I told everybody Dameon Pierce in the preseason. One run, I said, that's my boy Bainbridge. Stand up. Bainbridge, stand up. He's coming. I don't know. And then the first game, they played Rex Burkhead like it was we're going to get Rexy somewhere. Now get the hell out of here. 2 running backs that I love, man. I love. These are traditional style running backs. They can catch, but they don't need to catch. Like the way they run between the tackles, the physicalness they bring to the football game. It was a treat to watch this game. And I'm not lying. Like this game was close for most of the game. It's the way Houston had been playing pretty much all year because of those running backs dominating the line of scrimmage. That was the biggest takeaway of this game. That was so fun. This game was really fun to watch.
Yeah, a very old school style when it comes to the rushing attack. Josh Jacobs headlined the running back groups for both teams. 20 carries, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns for Jacobs. Since 2010, Josh Jacobs is right up there with Derrick Henry and Adrian Peterson for most consecutive games with 140-plus rushing yards. That's good company to be up there with Derrick Henry and Adrian Peterson. The last 3 games for Josh Jacobs has been truly phenomenal. 23 carries per game, 147 rushing yards per game, 6 total touchdowns in those 3, averaging 6.4 yards a carry. He has been exactly what we hoped and what we thought for Josh Jacobs, especially you thought for Josh Jacobs at the beginning of the season. And this is the key for the Las Vegas Raiders, right? This is what we talked about at the beginning of the season, where you come in, you have that preseason that they had where Josh Jacobs was taking care of business, or not Josh Jacobs was taking care of business, but they were getting the feel for that rushing attack, and we're like, okay. And I remember this take, and I don't remember word for word, but I remember saying that they're getting that rushing attack and they're figuring it out early in preseason, and you'll see it during the regular season where this balanced offense is going to be a problem. 38 points in this game against a no-slouch defense of the Houston Texans. I mean, this is it for the Raiders, right?
Yeah, the Raiders have to run their offense through Josh Jacobs. And it's so funny because people don't want that to be the case. Everybody wants to have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and that's great. You don't get that. Like, there's only those guys are one of a kind. You have a good quarterback in Derek Carr. You have an all-pro Hall of Fame receiver in Devontae Adams. But the staple, the thing that's going to make this thing go is the ability to run the football. And you have a dog in the backfield to give the ball to, and they finally are starting to do it. There is no coincidence. It's not a coincidence. This is an actual fact as to what is happening. The Raiders have now won 2 of 3 games. The only loss came against the Chiefs in that barn burner 30-29 defeat, which easily could have been a Raiders win. Why is it that the Raiders are playing better now? Go look at the rushing numbers. Go look at the carries of Josh Jacobs. It's not like a coincidence that it's happening. The first 3 games of the year, he went 10 carries. He went 19 carries against Arizona, and they blew that lead. He went 13 carries against Tennessee. Loss. Comes back and goes 28, 21, and 20. 20 carries or more for Josh Jacobs has resulted in 2 out of 3 wins and possibly could have been a third against one of the best teams in football. There is no coincidence why that's happening. Lean on the run game. This is what you guys need to be. And then focus on everything else after. It makes Devontae more dynamic. It makes Carr more dynamic. They're doing it without Waller. Hunter Renfro's better. Mac Hollins making big plays because of it. Starts with the run game. Super impressed. And I told you, this might be the 1-4 team that comes back and makes the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm very glad we had that conversation on Thursday or Friday when we previewed this game, talking about how the Raiders are that team that could go up there in history with the other teams that have managed to find a way into the playoffs after starting with 1-4. I want to bring something up, and I wanted to touch on it earlier with the Christian McCaffrey, with the Ezekiel Elliott, and now with Josh Jacobs. Because I think the running back position in general is a different position it is now than it was when like Emmitt Smith played, who could play 16 years in this league. Like, it doesn't happen anymore, right? And all the conversation this week was talked about durability of Christian McCaffrey and injury prone. And I keep posting things on Facebook like it boggles my mind how we call these running backs injury prone after tearing an ACL after 1 season. And you're trying to get back and maybe you miss 20 or so games a season and a couple of games in the next season. And we call them injury prone. And I have a question to the football community. Can we name a running back who's not injury prone right now? Who are those guys? Because I could think of like 3 or 4 off the top of my head, based on the definition that fans give injury prone, not me, fans. Do we have a list of guys who are not injury prone? I can think of maybe 4, maybe 5 guys. And there's only one real guy. There's only one guy. There's only one guy in the NFL that I look at and say, the only player in the NFL that's not injury prone, and that's Ezekiel Elliott. The only one. He's the only one who's never missed a game because of injury. He's missed a game because of they've been, in their position playoffs. He's missed a game because he got suspended for 6. He's never missed a game due to injury, ever. The only person in the NFL at the running back position who's never missed a game due to injury is Ezekiel Elliott. So is he the only one who's not injury prone? I mean, I guess
I would argue Derrick Henry's not injury prone.
I would say Derrick Henry's not injury prone.
Okay, but he missed most of last season.
Yeah.
So is it just 1 season? Are you allowed to just miss 1 season?
I think determining if someone is injury prone is a pure opinion based thing, unless you want to talk about the numbers. I know there's one site out there that actually has the percentage of injury chance and stuff like that.
Josh Jacobs is not injury prone.
No,
he's missed games because of injury. A few, not a lot. Alvin Kamara has been injured a few times, but never missed a lot of games. Dalvin Cook misses 3 games a year, and then he had the 1 year he tore his ACL. Does that mean he's injury prone? Because Dylan would pegged him.
I have heard that he was injury prone. I have heard Dalvin Cook being.
I just want to know. No, I'm asking. It's a legit question.
I don't have the answer to that question. Like I said, I think that there's statistics that help prove the injury prone conversation. But in reality, I think people are very quick, and I think it's an easy cop out. To say someone is an injury or peg someone as an injury prone back. But either way, let's not discredit the 2 running backs that were featured in this game, and Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce. Absolute.
Oh,
there it is. Big time win for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now on the road back, trying to climb back into the playoff race. They now move to 2-4. Texans 1-4-1 after Sunday's matchup. The Seattle Seahawks defeat the Los Angeles Chargers 37-23. This game here featured, well, the same old from the Seattle Seahawks offense. Geno Smith-Day, 20 of 27, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. A big time performance from Ken Walker, 23 carries, 168 yards, 2 tutties. Big day for the rookie running back here, and a big win over the Los Angeles Chargers, 37-23 for the Seahawks, now leading the NFC West at 4-3. Earlier on in the show, we discussed the NFC West leading Seahawks and how good they have been, and if they can be the real deal. Let's talk about the Chargers here, Aaron, for a little bit. Let's talk about this defense now allowing 37 points to the Seahawks. I'll give you the floor here, buddy.
Probably our most watched preview this week was the Seahawks and Chargers. Got the most comments about this game, about my take about Justin Herbert and how he's Kirk Cousins 2.0 with more talent. And I'm not denying that. Justin Herbert's a very talented guy, big, strong, physical, strong arm, fast, amazing arm talent, has the ability to be one of the best quarterbacks in football. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You have the ability to do it. Great. Then do it. I am tired of having to argue with people about the look of somebody on the field versus what they're actually doing, and then the stat book. Stats are wonderful. Stats are a measurement of how somebody is playing on the field. But we get to pick and choose what stats we want to apply when. And this is the narrative every sports show does. Vinny, you and I are experts at it. We know, we've been through school. We can tell any story we want with the way we get stats. Somebody throws for 300 yards, I can make that player look like he had a good game. Because Justin Herbert does it every week. Did Justin Herbert play well yesterday? No, he didn't. There's another game where he did not play well. And yet we're going to look at the stats at the end of the day, and he's close to be 300 yards and whatever. And we're like, oh, he's the first quarterback to do this. But he lost. He scored 23 points against one of the worst defenses in football. Yes, Chargers defense, as I stated at the beginning of the year, is atrocious. But when is Justin Herbert going to be held accountable for his team getting victories? Yes, quarterback is not a winning stat, or wins are not a quarterback stat. We often say that. But you know what is? You know what there's a tie to? Go look at the history of the NFL and go look at the winningest quarterbacks. The winningest quarterbacks, their win-loss record. Tell me those aren't the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. They go hand in hand. Yes, it might not directly be because of a quarterback, but Trent Dilfer ain't got 400 wins. You know what I mean? He won a Super Bowl.
I think everything with that conversation is almost situational. I think it's I'm not sure if it's as cut and dry as people like to say it is when it comes to wins and losses not being a quarterback stat, and then wins and losses are a quarterback stat. I think it's not as cut and dry, and in certain instances, you can look at wins and losses and say, oh, the quarterback's got – that's the thing. The quarterback has to be the difference maker sometimes. If you want to be a franchise quarterback, you have to be the difference maker sometimes and be able to, I don't want to use Patrick Mahomes as my example here.
Yeah, you do. You got to overcome deficiency.
It's just in certain situations, you have to be able to – score points, and you score. There are going to be games where you have to score. And sometimes your defense is not going to be able to be great. In this game, when you score, when your defense is allowing 37 points, I'm not sure that there's much Justin Herbert could have done to get the win. Obviously scoring 38 points would have been a good start, but I just think
that the conversations about Justin Herbert have been slow. And when people make statements, it's been unfair to Justin Herbert. When people make statements like, oh, he's better than Patrick Mahomes, or he's going to be the next greatest thing. Do we realize there is a direct line to winning in this league and quarterback play? Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Big Ben, John Elway, Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers. Those are the top 8 in career wins in the NFL at the quarterback position. You have to have longevity and you have to win. And Justin Herbert right now is a 500 quarterback.
So let me go into that. Let's go in. You watched this game, right? You watched. I
watched most of this game.
You watched most of this game. Okay, so maybe this is not cut and dry, but I'm going to see. If you were to box score view this, and you see 33 of 51, 293 yards, 2 touchdowns and interception. Like you said, that's a good game. When you box score, obviously they lost. They got 23 points. Austin Eckler, 21 carries, 21 total touches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. The stat sheet looks good for some of these players. What other than this defense, what is this offense for the Chargers? What do they need to do? What is that difference because like we said, sometimes wins and losses are not a quarterback stat, but in this case, you want Justin Herbert and this offense to take that next step. The box score looks good. What's the problem?
Yeah, well, I can tell you a number of problems. Justin Herbert missed too many throws on third down, could not keep drives alive. So I talk about this all the time. You're 5 for 15 on third down against a bad defense. When you are putting your defense in a situation where you can't sustain drives, guess what happens to a tired defense? They start to give up more. There's no denying that Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and Derwin James and J.C. Jackson are elite players. But if you put them on the field for the majority of the game, guess what's going to happen? They're going to make mistakes. They're going to give stuff up. And that's what we see when we see this Chargers team. They don't win the turnover. They don't win the time of possession battle ever. You want to know why? Because they can't run the football. You know why they can't run the football? Because they're so busy trying to make Justin Herbert be the superstar, make all the throws, and it puts pressure on him to be perfect. He can't be perfect. You have to be able to run the football. You talked about Austin Eckler's box score. That's great. What is checking down to Austin Eckler 16 times really doing for you as an offense? It's doing nothing. The man got 12 targets from the running back position. All you're doing is throwing the ball 2 yards because there's nobody down the field getting open, or Justin Herbert is not making those throws accurately to sustain drives. So the defense is doing what the defense always wants to do. Sit back, make you check down underneath, come up, wrap up, and tackle. At some point in time, and there's a direct link between the quarterback and the coach. Some point in time, they have to scheme differently. They have to find ways to sustain drives. And number one, more so than anything, they have to be able to run the football. And they don't run the football. People mistake watching Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes for not being able to run the football, but they can. They just don't. They just run it in certain situations when you need to run it. They're never behind the chains. It's never 3rd and 15. And when it is, then you ask your quarterback to go make that play. You know who makes that play? Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And Justin Herbert's done it too. Many big 4th down throws. But when you ask a guy to do that constantly over and over and over again, you can't do it. So Justin Herbert, as the quarterback, I'm assuming he has some autonomy to get to the line of scrimmage and see that they're light in the box and say, you know what? We're going to run against this 6-man front. We're going to run against this 7-man front. I don't care that they put 8 in the box. We're going to run it here, and we got to be more physical than them. That's my problem, is we are giving Justin Herbert credit for numbers, but where is the mental side of football saying, you know what? We need to be better at certain things and do that. And so if you want to give him the credit when he does well, we have to give him the blame when they don't win. And so that's my problem. It's not that I don't think this guy's talented, but we can't give credit, and then things don't go right and be like, injuries, defense sucks, offensive line sucks. It's the same defense and offensive line when you were winning games, but you're giving credit to Justin Herbert, so give him some blame.
In this game, excuse me, I think I talked about the box score, and you had mentioned this as well, the rushing attack from the Los Angeles Chargers. You threw 50 plus times in this game with Justin Herbert against the Seattle Seahawks offense. And obviously they were scoring points. You had to keep up with them. But the Seattle Seahawks defense, I should say, that entered the week with the 32nd ranked defense in opponents' rushing yards per game.
They were the worst.
Teams have been able to run against the Seattle Seahawks, and the Chargers finished with just 53 total rushing yards. So,
and the first excuse will be, well, we're banged up on the offensive line. But
that's a scheme problem.
But wait.
That's a scheme thing.
Hold on. But you weren't banged up on the offensive line a week ago or 2 weeks ago when you played Cleveland and ran.
Oh, what a take. Ruined.
For 200.
Not ruined.
I don't know what you heard there.
It was, you said
what I was saying was the excuse is they're banged up on the offensive line. That's what I know fans will say. Well, no, we got no Rashawn Slater. Corey Linsley's out. He's hurt. I said, but that was the same injuries that you had 2 weeks ago against Cleveland when you ran for 200 plus yards on them. So what's the difference? And there's no excuse when you can do it one week and then the next week you want to use the excuse of the offensive line. And it's the same damn offensive line. The problem is your refusal to run the football, your ignorance or your stubbornness to say we have a franchise quarterback. We don't need to run the football like that. You have to. This is the NFL. Defenses know what you're trying to do. Keenan Allen's been banged up. Keenan Allen was back on the field yesterday for a little bit. The fact of the matter is he had to leave. He didn't do much. But Mike Williams has been there for this time. Gerald Everett's balled out. DeAndre Carter has been one of the big standouts kind of out of nowhere. So all these injuries, yes, but that's not an excuse to make for a quarterback that's supposed to overcome those deficiencies. So I'm not knocking Justin Herbert here. I'm knocking the people that we continue to put this guy on a pedestal as an MVP candidate, as up there with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and he has yet to make the playoffs. He has great numbers that don't result in wins, and he's a 500 record in his career. Those are facts. That's not my opinion. That is an absolute fact. Great numbers, 500 record, failed to make playoffs. Yet we anoint him every year, Super Bowl favorite, or at least 2 years that he's been here, Super Bowl favorite, MVP favorite. And I don't know where that comes from. It's like we just want to say it because he looks cool doing it. And to me, that's just bad analysis and bad takes on football.
Yeah. That's it. It's been too simple when trying, like, we just too much watching the box. When you talk about this will be the last bit talking about the rushing attack. I mean, talk about the Falcons ran all over them. The Denver Broncos ran all over them. He got
outplayed by Geno Smith. Not in the box score, but he got outplayed.
What I'm saying,
Geno Smith was smart enough to play better than Justin Herbert. He did.
Yeah. I was saying the teams that have ran the teams that have ran all over the Seahawks don't have like phenomenal offensive lines. So like it's just really there's no excuse. But another team that's not getting talked about enough, the Seahawks though. Big shout out to them. Marquise Goodwin, 2 touchdowns in this game at 31 years old. He's making it happen.
Without DK.
They did it without that. Yeah, they did it without DK. Another team that's just finding ways to win here. Now 4-3 leading the NFC West. So shout out to the Seattle Seahawks finding ways to win and playing good football. The final game on our list was the Sunday night prime time matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins took this one 16-10. Kenny Pickett, last play of the game, it came down to him, and a tough interception it was a great interception from the Miami Dolphins standpoint. But the Dolphins hold on 16-10 to his first game back though. Aaron, 21 of 35, 261 and a tutty for Tua in his debut, in his return back from that tough injury. How did he look? How did this offense look? And what are your takeaways from that side of the ball?
Yeah, they came out blazing, right? They got off to a really good start down the field. Kind of what I expected from Tua. But then they sputtered a little bit. I thought it was good for Tua. I thought he played well for the most part. He had some errant throws that probably should have been picked off. But I really wasn't looking for Tua to come out and like have this offense really humming. And he did early. And they had to settle for some field goals instead of getting in the end zone. And that kind of came back what you wanted to see. You want to see how comfortable he was. Was he going to play tentative? And I don't think he played tentative. And I think that was the biggest takeaway was, okay, is Tua comfortable enough to not be scared to take a hit? And he showed that he wasn't. He did talk about being smarter on the football field, maybe throwing the ball away a little bit more, not taking, and then he put his head down and tried to run somebody over. So I didn't get that. But that's the football mentality, right? You just can't get away from that. That's the kind of person he is. So I was impressed with that. I thought so much credit should be given to the Steelers and their adjustments after those first couple of drives. I thought defensively, Brian Flores and what Mike Tomlin did defensively was pretty impressive because I thought they were going to get ran out of the building. But the Dolphins, I think they got their guy back. I think you could see it. The running game seems to be working out with Raheem Mostert. They found their guy, at least for now, until he's hurt. And it's working. It's working. He's winning. And again, we talk about Tua, the opposite of Justin Herbert. It doesn't always look the prettiest, but he's the one finding ways to win games. And he doesn't have the big names on defense like the Chargers have. He doesn't have the special talent that the Chargers quote have at quarterback. but he's the one who's coming away and finding ways to keep his team in it and leading drives late and winning games. And that's what, to me, is more impressive. You just saw the energy was different for the Dolphins with him than with Skylar Thompson or with Teddy Bridgewater. I truly believe this team believes in Tua and they like his leadership ability. And the Dolphins, I told you this before the week, I feel like they're back. I feel like they're back to being that team that can beat anybody in the NFL on any given day. And they'll continue to win some more games and have some success.
Yeah, and this game was 16-10 at halftime. The game finished 16-10. The second half combined from both teams, 10 total punts from both teams total, a turnover on downs, and 2 interceptions, both coming from Kenny Pickett late in the game, or around that late in the game time, the one coming at the very end. What was your assessment from Kenny Pickett and yet another start for him? Obviously, he returned as well. He was concussed last week, but he returns 257 through the air, 2 tutty, 3 interceptions, 32 of 44. Overall assessment for him.
It's crazy because everybody's going to look at the 3 picks and go crazy. And you can't turn the football over, but that's what young quarterbacks do. You saw it last year with Trevor Lawrence, threw a ton of picks. That's what they do. I actually, and this is going to shock a lot of people, I love what I'm seeing from Kenny Pickett. I wasn't a big fan of Kenny Pickett coming out, but I like his aggressiveness. I like the way he wants to push the ball down the field, and he'll take shots to Pickens and Deontay and Claypool. And there's something there. Like there's a quarterback in there that can be good in this league. It's going to be about developing him, getting him to understand coverages, know when to be smart with the football. That's development. They need to make sure they have the right coaching to mold that. But he has the ability. He does have it. So I was impressed. I'm more disappointed than anything out of the Pittsburgh Steelers is in Najee Harris. Is it the injury? I hope. I don't say hope it's injury, but I hope that's why he's so inefficient.
You hope there's an excuse to why he's been so bad.
My internet. I hope that it's an injury because he's so inefficient as a runner. And we can blame the offensive line and all that stuff, but I just watch him. It's like, I'm going to say it again, and I know you hate this. Is it this Alabama thing? Like it's Brian Robinson. They look inefficient as running backs. Like they're not.
Let's
the big physical guys. It's not like when Josh Jacobs came out. He's not a big physical guy. Like it's these big physical running backs.
Which one is it? During our Raiders conversation, you did just say that these are 2 big physical backs between Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce.
No, let me clarify when I mean big physical. I mean body frame. Not Dameon Pierce is not a big guy. Like he's a bowling ball. He's I mean the way they run. Like Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce run hard. Najee Harris is more from the cloth of Derrick Henry style. He's a big guy, but he doesn't run like Derrick Henry runs with a physicalness. Najee Harris doesn't run like that. Brian Robinson doesn't run like that. They don't run with like, I'm putting you on your ass every time. And so what happens is they're thumpers. They're just, 3 yards and a thump on the ground, 3 yards and a thump on the ground. And to me in the NFL, that doesn't work. It's something we've seen over and over again. And this is why we had the argument about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Najee Harris fantasy value. And obviously I was wrong with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's kind of being whatever. But this is why I went away from it. Like Najee just doesn't do anything when he touches the ball. Are you ever worried about Najee Harris taking one to the house or ripping one off for 30 yards? I'm never worried about that. I always see him running. I'm like, yeah, he's maybe 10 max. Like he just doesn't have that dynamic playmaking ability. And that's what they drafted him to be. When you draft that high of a running back, I don't say you waste a pick, but that's really what it is. Because you could have found this guy in the 4th round that does what Najee Harris is doing. And that's bothersome to me because you were invested in like a high pick and you're not really returning that value. And I know the offensive line's not great, but they need more out of that running game. And Jaylen Warren looks like the more explosive player. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm giving him the ball more. And I know you don't want to do that because it's a 1st-round pick, but Jaylen Warren looks more explosive when he touches the ball. He just does.
I think it's something to be said. The conversation to me about talking about Najee Harris and everything. I think the biggest thing it's the conversation about the miles on the tires. And you brought that up in one of our arguments in the past, talking about the miles on the tires of these running backs. And it's not so much about the school of Alabama being like what they have in the system of it. It's about the workload that they got in college. I mean, you look at Josh Jacobs and how successful he's been. He didn't have as much work at Alabama as Najee Harris did.
Because it wasn't
look at Damian Harris. Well, as what I'm saying though is the miles on the tires of the guys that are successful, like that matters. Like that matters here.
I agree, but we're only in year 2 of Najee Harris, and I get that he had a lot of carries in college. But the reason those college guys like Josh Jacobs don't get a lot of carries, or Dameon Pierce, is because they weren't those guys in college. They weren't the guys that was going to carry the ball 25 times. Najee Harris was. So Najee Harris comes out as a guy you're thinking, oh, in the NFL, it should translate. The problem is in the NFL, you're not running over guys that are 3 times smaller than you when you play Western Tennessee State. Alabama only plays UGA once a year. And guess what happens? Usually it's harder for them guys to have numbers. He gets to go play these fluff teams every year that aren't NFL linebackers, that aren't NFL D linemen. He runs those guys over. He can juke those guys at his size because they're not fast enough to guard him in college. Those college players aren't even making it to the league half the time. When you come to the NFL, those are all dudes on the other side of the ball. You have to be explosive. The number one thing that gets on my nerves is we will sit here every week, not you, but the world, and say, Tony Pollard needs the ball more in Dallas because he's more explosive. And Zeke, I will admit, he's not as explosive as he once was. You can't give Zeke, expect him to get 20 carries for 150 yards anymore. You need Tony Pollard and those explosive runs. So why do we do that with the player who's proven to be great, but we won't do it with the second-year guy who's having the same issue? He looks like he's a plotter, a guy, if you need short yardage, you go give it to him. It's not what we need. We need explosiveness. Get Jaylen Warren more involved. If we want Tony Pollard to be involved more, Jaylen Warren needs to be touching the ball 10 to 12 times a game. They don't have any dynamic playmaker coming out of the backfield, and they have a ton of great receivers, and this offense has failed to score points because of that, not having that dynamic. I will die on this hill. The running back by committee thing is stupid to me if you have a dude. If you don't have a dude, if you don't have Nick Chubb in your backfield or Christian McCaffrey in your backfield or Dalvin Cook in your backfield, then everybody that can touch the ball that's explosive should touch the ball. I don't care. That's why I like the Chiefs, what the Chiefs are doing. They don't have a dude. So what if it's McKinnon? So what if it's Pacheco? So what if it's Clyde? It doesn't matter. But if the Pittsburgh Steelers think Najee's their dude, they need to reevaluate and assess that, because the fact of the matter is he's not. He's not that guy that you're giving the ball to 20 times and he's going to come at the end of the day and have 150 yards. It might not ever happen. You may not ever see a really like that type of game from Najee Harris because he doesn't have that explosiveness.
As of right now, where it stands, Najee Harris is averaging 3.3 yards per carry. That's 51st in the NFL. There are some other big names around him, though. Joe Mixon's right ahead of him, and Joe Mixon have the same yards per attempt in 3.3, but it's still 51st in the NFL. Definitely not good, especially with a rookie quarterback. That's the other thing here. You want to be able to have an effective running game with a rookie quarterback, and especially with a rookie quarterback who has shown good signs of being able to get it to his receivers and make plays. Shout out George Pickens, 6 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown in this game. He's looking like a very good prospect as well for the Steelers, but they have to get that running game involved. They do fall to the Miami Dolphins here, though, 16-10. Steelers move to 2-5. The Dolphins move to 4-3. That does it for our Week 7 recaps. Do you want to do this on the show?
What?
Hold on.
Do I want to do what?
Hold on. You want to do this on a show? I forgot to do it earlier on when we were actually in our 30-minute show, but we have a DK. Yeah. We have a DK. All right, let's do it. We've got a Monday Night Football game tonight between we have to pick another Bears game. Damn it.
Dude, these are the worst. These games are so bad.
This is brutal. We've got another Monday Night Football game, though, with the New England Patriots taking on the Chicago Bears here, and we've got our daily fantasy pick'ems here. 100 people get invited, and we see who can actually who actually can win. That's from our show. It's the Patriots, though. It's the Bears. Not great pickings here, but we've got to make some decisions, and let's get down to it. Let's get down to business.
Oh boy,
I'm like going really fast with my picks, actually.
it's hard work out here for a player like me. It's hard work out here for.
This is a grind, dude. This is a straight grind.
Dude, these teams are so ass.
This is brutal. This is brutal. I think I have my team, though, and I think I'm going to set this and forget this and just hope for the best. My team. Oh, it's not. I don't want to not have a quarterback on here. Oh man, do I go Bailey Zappi?
Why? You could.
Do I not? Do I go Bailey Zappi? You think he plays in this game? You think it's ridiculous to go Bailey Zappi?
So you know how I feel about Bailey Zappi, bro.
He's so expensive, though. I don't think the value's there in terms of DFS plays. I don't think the value's there because there's the strong possibility you get a goose from Bailey Zappi because he won't play. I'm going to lock in my team. I don't know what your team's at, where your mind's at, but I'm locking this in. Ramondre Stevenson is my captain. I got the Patriots defense. I got Khalil Herbert, David Montgomery. I did this last time with a Bears game, with the Bears Commanders game, where I just picked a random wide receiver to do good, and it was Dante Pettis, and he actually got a touchdown that game, so it looked good. I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to go with Equanimous St. Brown as my random Bears receiver here, and I'll go with Tyquan Thornton.
All right, I got mine too. My captain is David Montgomery. I have Justin Fields. I have Hunter Henry. I have Darnell Mooney. I have Tyquan Thornton, and I have Nick Folk.
Okay, smart move to have the kicker in there. And I did think about Darnell Mooney as well, but just kind of ran out of money. Maybe I don't know. Either way, that's it for our fantasy. Or that's it for our DFS plays. There, join our DFS challenge. See if you can see if you can get number one. If you can get number one, that'll be a truly special feat in the history of Sac City Podcast. We'll be back again, though, live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time, bringing you more fantasy football talk. We've got some new surprises in store for tomorrow's fantasy show, new content dropping for fantasy football, as well as a recap of the Monday Night Football game between the Patriots and the Chicago Bears. Until then, though, for my best friend Aaron Mukes, I am me. We will see you tomorrow.
Peace out.